Chapter 1035. Noah's ultimate form unconscious and buried beneath a pile of debris, Noah's body began to heal itself, unaware of the tragic fate that had befallen his beloved pet Norvin at the hands of the Dark Lord. Memories of happier times flooded Noah's mind. Vivid flashes of moments spent with his wife Alicia and cherished family memories. One memory, in particular, played over and over in his thoughts. An idyllic scene where Alicia and Norvin sat on either side of Noah, their faces filled with joy as they watched the sunset in the serene azure continent. Alicia's gentle embrace enveloped Noah, her head resting upon his shoulder, while the young Norvin, a baby golden bobberoo at the time, curled up on Noah's lap, peacefully asleep. These precious moments were etched in Noah's heart. However, the serenity of the memory abruptly shifted, turning dark and foreboding. Alicia's tear-filled eyes stared up at Noah, blood streaming from them. In a cruel twist, Alicia slowly faded away from his recollection, leaving Noah powerless to halt the mortifying transformation. Norvin, too, awoke from his slumber in the memory, only to vanish before Noah's eyes. Noah gazed up at the sky, witnessing the vibrant orange hues of the once painted light gradually darkening. His eyes traced the ominous formation of clouds taking shape, morphing into the distinct skull symbol associated with the Dark Lord. The reality of his situation tore through Noah's being, wrenching him from the pleasant memories he had cherished, transforming them into a haunting nightmare brought forth by the Dark Lord's malevolence. As Noah gradually regained consciousness, the tides of war shifted in favor of the Dark Lord, Michael. Without the presence of Noah and Norvin, the two strongest warriors, Noah's army found themselves on the losing end. Despite the valiant efforts of the Sky Hall Angels, the relentless undead forces and their lethal allies, the bloaters, began to overwhelm and decimate their ranks. Meanwhile, Eve relentlessly continued her mission of destroying the light orbs. Each orb shattered under the weight of her mighty blows, plunging the battlefield into ever-deepening darkness. Gaia, in her Naga form, soared through the sky, emitting a poisonous green mist that tainted the air. With a fiery arrow in hand, she unleashed a devastating explosion that reduced buildings to ashes and reverberated with a deafening roar throughout the river town. The destruction caused by their combined efforts cast a grim shadow over the once vibrant river town. "Wake up, Noah!" Noah heard his mentor Andreas' voice in his head. "The Dark Lord killed Norvin, Noah. You must wake up and avenge him." As Noah's consciousness began to stir, he heard the familiar voice of his mentor, Andreas, resonating in his mind, urging him to wake up and seek vengeance for Norvin's death at the hands of the Dark Lord. Meanwhile, Eve, determined to disrupt the Noah's plans, hurled her hammer towards what appeared to be an empty patch of ground. However, upon impact, the illusion surrounding the area shattered, revealing a group of dwarves and Sky Hall Angels fervently guarding a pulsating energy orb. The orb emitted a radiant and intense light, serving as a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. In a state of panic and shock, the dwarves exclaimed, their voices filled with urgency and disbelief. "The illusions. They've been shattered. Protect the orb at all costs." In a display of unity, the half-immortal Sky Hall Angels swiftly took flight, soaring through the sky with grace and purpose. Their ethereal forms glistened with celestial light as they positioned themselves between Eve and the pulsating energy of the orb. 3 Sky Hall Angels, their power amplified by their half-immortal status, unleashed spells upon Eve. The first angel channeled their energy into a swirling vortex of ice shards that streaked through the air, aiming to freeze Eve's movements. The second angel summoned bolts of lightning that crackled and danced, electrifying the atmosphere and threatening to engulf Eve in a storm of electricity. The third angel, their voice resonating with divine authority, invoked a radiant beam of pure light, searing through the darkness and seeking to cleanse the malevolent forces that surrounded them. The spells collided with a dazzling spectacle, creating a symphony of elemental power that illuminated the sky. Each spell carried its own unique appearance and effect, showcasing the immense strength and determination of the Sky Hall Angels. Despite Eve's formidable strength at the half-immortal stage level 3, facing 3 Sky Hall Angels and their combined spells proved to be a formidable challenge. The spells surged through the sky, aiming directly at Eve. She swiftly swung her hammer in a circular motion, creating a protective shield that deflected the icy shards launched by the first angel. However, her quick reflexes weren't enough to evade the lightning bolts cast by the second angel, which struck her back. "Ah!" Eve cried out in pain, blood staining her lips as she coughed uncontrollably. Before the third angel's radiant beam could reach her, Gaia intervened, assuming her Naga form and coiling protectively around Eve. The beam collided with Gaia's sturdy scales, shielding Eve from its full impact. As the spells dissipated, Gaia released Eve from her embrace and transformed back into her human form. Her sudden appearance shifted the tide of the battle, instilling a newfound confidence. "Didn't your angel mama teach you that it's wrong to bully a girl?" Gaia taunted, her voice laced with amusement. "I think you should take a look at, she's just a bitch, just like you, a whore and an abomination for marrying the Dark Lord," one of the angels retorted, attempting to provoke Gaia. Instead of becoming angered, Gaia laughed. To her, these angels were nothing but pitiful fools, destined for their imminent demise. "How embarrassing it must be for you three to meet your end at the hands of a so-called bitch and whore," Gaia sneered, reveling in her superiority. With a sudden burst of speed, she lunged at the two half-immortal angels, leaving one for Eve to face. Gaia's incredible swiftness caught the angels off guard. During Michael's absence in Itenes, Gaia had discovered and absorbed an energy deposit, fueling her powers to unprecedented heights. The surge of energy unleashed her hidden potential, enhancing her strength, speed, and raw power to extraordinary levels. As Gaia faced off against the two half-immortal Skyhall angels, she tapped into her newly amplified powers. Poisonous energy surged through her veins, empowering her spells with a venomous touch. With a graceful flick of her hand, she unleashed a cloud of toxic mist, enveloping her opponents. The mist coiled around the angels, corroding their strength and sapping their vitality. Undeterred, the first angel retaliated with a spell of his own. He summoned ethereal chains, forged from divine light, which shot towards Gaia with blinding speed. But Gaia's agility allowed her to dodge and weave through the intricate network of chains, avoiding their restrictive grip. Meanwhile, the second angel unleashed a barrage of radiant arrows, each one imbued with holy energy. Gaia swiftly evaded the arrows, her nimble movements akin to a dance in the sky. She retaliated by drawing her golden bow and firing back with arrows infused with her own potent magic. Each arrow found its mark, causing explosive bursts of energy upon impact. The clash between Gaia and the Skyhall angels shook the battlefield. Buildings crumbled beneath their powerful spells, reducing Noah's army and the undead horde to mere collateral damage in their fierce confrontation. The ground quaked as shockwaves rippled through the once serene town, leaving trails of destruction in their wake. Amidst this chaos, Eve engaged in her own aerial duel with the remaining Skyhall angel. Bolts of lightning crackled from her hammer, surging through the sky with dazzling brilliance. She summoned storms of electricity, their raw power threatening to tear the heavens asunder. The angel countered with shields of divine energy, attempting to deflect the electrifying onslaught. Thunderous clashes echoed through the air as their spells collided, illuminating the darkened sky. The battle between Gaia, Eve, and the Skyhall angels transcended mere physical combat. It became a clash of elemental forces, their powers intertwining and creating an awe-inspiring spectacle. Their ferocity and determination knew no bounds as they fought with all their might, unleashing devastation upon the once peaceful river town. In the midst of the chaos, the battlefield became a chaotic maelstrom of destruction. The combined forces of Noah's army and the undead horde were caught in the crossfire, their ranks scattered and decimated by the overwhelming power unleashed by the combatants. The ground was scarred with the remnants of their spells, and the air was heavy with the scent of burning debris and swirling energy. Amidst the raging battle, a sudden explosion shattered the debris above Noah with a resounding boom. A blinding light erupted from the very spot where Noah had been buried, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. The radiant glow that emanated from Noah's being enveloped the entire battlefield, casting an ethereal brilliance upon the chaos. Unbeknownst to Michael, who observed from the sky, the near-death experience and the profound loss of his loved ones had awakened a dormant power within Noah. The fury and anguish coursing through his veins fueled his transformation, granting him unimaginable strength and a newfound determination to confront the Dark Lord. Little did Michael know in that very moment that the brink of death had unleashed a wellspring of power within Noah, as it did for all gods and beings above the mortal realm. The revelation that near-death experiences could grant unimaginable strength remained a secret to Michael, and Noah was about to prove that he was no exception to this extraordinary phenomenon. As Noah ascended, radiant and empowered, Michael braced himself for the ultimate clash between the two brothers, unaware of the true magnitude of Noah's newfound abilities. Noah slowly ascended from the ground, his entire form radiating with the intensity of the blinding light. Michael recognized the change unfolding before his eyes, realizing that Noah had tapped into his ultimate potential. Floating in the sky, Michael prepared himself to confront Noah in this newfound, ultimate form. Ghost! Noah's voice reverberated through the battlefield, resonating with a force that surpassed mere sound. His powerful shout unleashed a shockwave, obliterating everything in its path. The once ruined buildings crumbled to dust, and both Noah's army and the undead were thrown into disarray by the sheer force of the shout. Even Gaia, Eve, and the Sky Hall angels were forcefully brought down from the sky, crashing onto the ground below. Somewhere beyond the chaos of the battlefield, Neela, one of Noah's loyal and trusted friends, guided Olivia toward the epicenter of the battle. Olivia, an alchemist and Michael's former student, carried the weight of 2 god-killing arrows entrusted to her by Noah himself. Their arrival could potentially tip the scales in this cataclysmic conflict. Chapter 1036. Using the god-killing arrows, Noah emerged from the debris, his radiant form shining like a miniature sun. The darkness that Eve had cast upon the battlefield with the destruction of the light orbs was instantly dispelled by Noah's presence. He exuded an undeniable aura of the god of light, absorbing the arch and celestial energy that surrounded him. With this surge of power, the energy dome encasing Rivertown cracked and shattered, unable to contain Noah's divine might. Meanwhile, Michael activated the death range, causing the surrounding area to plunge into darkness. Storm clouds roiled above him, unleashing thunderous claps and torrential rain. The opposing forces of intense light and pitch-black darkness clashed, setting the stage for the ultimate battle between the god of light and the god of darkness. Noah's gaze fell upon the mummified remains of Norvin, lying lifeless on the ground below Michael. A profound anger welled up within Noah, resonating with a powerful hum that reverberated throughout the battlefield. The sound was so intense that it caused everyone, including Eve and Gaia, to cover their ears in agony. The impact was immense, knocking the beastmen, vampires, and all airborne fighters to the ground, their bodies trembling in response. The humming sound triggered a chaotic response from the undead. The alpha undead lost control over their minions, unleashing a bloodthirsty frenzy. The undead charged recklessly, attacking the Sky Hall angels, beastmen, dwarves, and anyone unfortunate enough to be in their path. However, just as the undead were about to descend upon Noah's army, a shockwave emanated from Noah's body, altering the very fabric of gravity in the battlefield. Suddenly, the undead and other combatants were rendered weightless, suspended in mid-air, their movement suspended by this extraordinary force. That is a surprising power. Michael remained calm and composed, unfazed by the gravity-altering power unleashed by Noah. As a god himself, the fluctuating forces had no effect on him. Hovering in the sky, their eyes locked, the contrast between Noah's boiling anger and Michael's unwavering composure was stark. The radiance surrounding Noah concealed the turmoil brewing within him, leaving Michael unaware of the changes beneath the surface. With a taunting tone, Michael goaded Noah. "What are you waiting for, Noah?" However, before his words could dissipate, Noah vanished from his position, reappearing behind Michael in a blink. An instinctual jolt surged through Michael as he felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Reacting swiftly, he activated his lightning dash, swiftly evading Noah's incoming punch by mere inches. Noah's fist struck the empty air, releasing a shockwave of incredible force that dispersed the storm clouds, revealing the resplendent moon and stars once more. Michael had little time to react as Noah immediately lunged at him once again. The clash between their powers created an extraordinary phenomenon in the sky, where light and darkness wrestled for dominance, casting an eerie gray hue over the battlefield. The opposing forces struggled to overpower each other, but their equilibrium remained unbroken. Amidst the clash, Noah's sole focus was on his consuming rage, his determination to kill his brother, the Dark Lord, unwavering. A fleeting foxy smile graced Michael's face before swiftly vanishing in the heat of battle. "I'm going to end your life." Noah's enraged scream echoed through the air as he relentlessly unleashed a barrage of punches. Some strikes found their mark on Michael's body, causing bones to crack under the force. However, thanks to the advanced healing properties of his APD-integrated armor, restorative potions coursed through Michael's bloodstream, mending his injuries in real time. A wicked smirk formed on Michael's lips as he taunted, "What happened to your no-kill rule?" With lightning-fast reflexes, he caught Noah's incoming fist mid-air, countering with a rapid series of punches to Noah's gut. Raising his hand, Michael unleashed a deadly combination of lightning and dark flames, propelling Noah through the air. Blood trickled from Noah's mouth as he was engulfed by the luminous aura surrounding him, yet he remained undeterred, dashing towards Michael once more. Noah charged with a thunderous roar, his mouth aglow with radiant light. As he bellowed, the light erupted from his gaping maw, materializing into a colossal ethereal dragon crafted from pure luminosity. The sight of the magnificent dragon stunned all onlookers, their attention drawn skyward. The beast's ferocious roar resounded through the battlefield as it soared towards Michael, jaws poised to snap shut. Undeterred by the imminent threat, Michael, the god of darkness, demonstrated his unwavering prowess. In the face of such battles, he pushed his limits, honing his skills to perfection. Seizing the moment, Michael activated Silenes, causing time to slow down within his vicinity. Swiftly ascending into the sky, he soared above the luminous dragon before diving with the Doomsbringer gripped tightly in his hand. With a resounding impact, the Doombringer collided forcefully with the dragon's head, unleashing a deafening clap of thunder that reverberated across the battlefield. The shockwave annihilated countless trees in a half-mile radius, leaving destruction in its wake. With the cracking of the dragon's head, Noah seized the opportunity and sprang into action. Summoning swords forged from pure light and radiant flames, he prepared to face Michael head-on. Sensing the impending danger, Michael swiftly hurled his Doomsbringer towards Noah, who deftly evaded the incoming attack. Simultaneously, Michael extended his hands towards the ground, causing the dark swords to tremble before launching them skyward. The clash between the two godly forces intensified as Noah unleashed lightning-fast sword strikes, pushing himself to the limits of his speed and agility. Undeterred, Michael tapped into the full potential of Silenes, slowing down time within his bubble of influence. Yet even in this slowed-down state, Noah's movements remained lightning-quick, making it a formidable challenge for Michael to evade his onslaught. "I think you should take a look at." Amidst the flurry of sword slashes, Noah managed to land a cut on Michael's shoulder. Although the armor absorbed most of the blow, the searing light flames managed to breach the defenses, leaving a burning wound that elicited a grimace from Michael. Recognizing the need for a decisive move, Michael made a calculated risk. He intentionally allowed Noah's sword to slice across his chest, using the opportunity to grab hold of Noah's wrists. Locked in a fierce face-off, the two brothers exerted their godly strength against one another, their eyes locked in a battle of wills. Regret seeping through his voice, Noah gritted his teeth as he spoke to Michael. The realization of his mistake lingered in his words. "I made a mistake by letting you live. I regret that." With a snicker, Michael taunted Noah, reveling in his change of heart. "Attaboy. Now you realize you shouldn't let your enemies live. I am glad you are finally seeing things." Determined to make his point, Noah retorted, "You are not my enemy. You are a curse to the whole world." Unleashing his frustration, Noah launched a powerful headbutt towards Michael, who in turn cracked his neck and reciprocated with a headbutt of his own. As the two brothers clashed, each headbutt sent shockwaves rippling through the sky, cracking the ground beneath them. In the midst of their confrontation, Neela and Olivia soared through the sky, witnessing the cataclysmic battle between two godly beings. Olivia carried the two god-killing arrows entrusted to her by Noah, a strategic move to prevent the Dark Lord from gaining complete control. In a split second, the dark swords defied the gravity distortion caused by Noah's power. Sensing the opening, Michael released Noah's wrists, swiftly grasping one of the dark swords and driving it into Noah's gut. Simultaneously, a sharp pain surged through Michael's own abdomen, realizing that Noah had retaliated by plunging a sword into his own gut. The momentary stillness was shattered by the intensity of their shared pain. A searing pain tore through their stomachs, causing blood to trickle down the darkened sky. Ominous thunders rumbled and lightning streaks illuminated the battlefield. From his castle, Andor sensed the weakening of the barrier and erupted into maniacal laughter, hoping that the god of darkness and god of light would destroy each other, shattering the barrier that kept him from reaching the realm of gods. With a firm grip on their swords, Michael and Noah drove the blades deeper into each other's bodies. In a desperate move, Michael raised his other hand, releasing a dense cloud of poison from a contraption built into his palm. The noxious fumes engulfed Noah's face, momentarily disorienting him and giving Michael an opportunity to grasp the second dark sword suspended in the air. However, before the second blade could find its mark, Olivia appeared unexpectedly, seizing Michael's hand. With tear-filled eyes and a voice filled with regret, Olivia addressed her teacher. "I am sorry, teacher." Neela, who had brought Olivia to the battlefield, witnessed the anguish in Olivia's expression. It was clear that betraying her teacher pained Olivia to the core. Taking advantage of the distraction caused by Olivia's intervention, Noah swiftly flicked his wrist, producing a god-killing arrow. With a resolute determination, he plunged the arrow through Michael's heart, dealing a decisive blow. As the god-killing arrow pierced through Michael's heart, a deafening thunderclap reverberated through the air, causing the entire world to tremble in response. The oceans, once restless with crashing waves, stilled in an eerie silence, as if paying homage to the monumental moment taking place above. In the midst of the charged atmosphere, lightning bolts erupted across the darkened sky, illuminating the heavens with their brilliant flashes. The bolts crackled with raw energy, as if mirroring the intense clash between light and darkness unfolding before the eyes of gods and mortals alike. It was a sight that struck awe and fear into the hearts of those who witnessed it. With the god of darkness struck by the god-killing arrow, a profound stillness settled over the battlefield. In a surge of determination, Noah seized another god-killing arrow and swiftly plunged it through Michael's gut, deepening the wound. As the arrow tore through flesh and sinew, a visceral spray of blood erupted from Michael's gut, splashing across the sky in a macabre display. The crimson liquid tainted his lips, trickling down his mouth in a chilling stream. Michael's eyes widened, a mix of agony and disbelief flickering within them. The pain coursed through his body, intensifying with each passing moment. Yet, despite the torment, a sinister smile twisted across his face, a cruel testament to his indomitable spirit. Note: continue reading and I promise you what you feel will turn into goosebumps. Chapter 1037. What really happened? Part 1. An error occurred while reading the file. Could not find file/data/www/panda_i/used_emails. TXT. Despite the torment inflicted upon him by the two god-killing arrows, Michael's indomitable will and resilience shone through. With a surge of strength, he gripped Noah by the neck, his fingers tightening around the vulnerable flesh. In an act of defiance, he headbutted Noah with a resounding thud, followed by a swift kick to the chest that propelled Noah through the sky, his body hurtling away from the battlefield. "I am sorry, teacher." With Olivia trembling in fear before him, Michael's gaze bore into her, a mixture of anger and disappointment etched across his blood-streaked face. Olivia stammered an apology, her voice trembling as she struggled to find the right words. The weight of her betrayal weighed heavily upon her, overshadowed by the impending threat to her life. In the midst of the chaos, Gaia, the relentless Naga warrior, fought against the enhanced gravity, her fierce determination allowing her to defy its oppressive force. Though her attempts to ascend into the sky were met with resistance, she refused to yield, her determination unyielding. Meanwhile, the two god-killing arrows embedded within Michael's body began to emit a radiant glow, their power sapping away his strength. The intensity of their radiance mirrored the diminishing might of the Dark Lord, causing Noah to launch himself at Michael once more. Yet, this time, Michael's agility proved superior as he deftly evaded Noah's punch, delivering a stinging slap across Noah's face that left him disoriented. "I don't want your sorry. I want your life," Michael growled menacingly at Olivia, his grip on her neck tightening, cutting off her air supply. Desperation flooded her eyes as her legs thrashed in a futile attempt to free herself from his grasp. As Olivia's life hung in the balance, Noah unleashed a brilliant beam of light, infused with his waning strength, directly at Michael's chest. The unexpected attack struck true, accompanied by the piercing pain of a third god-killing arrow that pierced Michael's back. Michael's gaze shifted, his eyes slowly taking in the sight of Sabrina, tears streaming down her face as she stood before him. "I had no choice," Sabrina murmured through her sorrow, her voice laced with regret and sadness. The collective forces of the Sky Hall Angels and Noah's army, witnessing the fading power of the Dark Lord, were filled with renewed hope and anticipation. With the third god-killing arrow embedded within his form, Michael plummeted from the sky, crashing into the ground below, leaving behind a gaping crater as testament to the immense power unleashed in their final confrontation. Upon Michael's impact with the ground, the chaotic forces that had distorted gravity returned to normal. Gaia and Eve wasted no time, swiftly closing in on Michael's fallen form. However, their advance was met with opposition as a group of Sky Hall Angels encircled them, their determination evident. Just as the situation seemed dire, a monstrous being materialized behind the Sky Hall Angels, a grotesque creature composed of pulsating blood. With a vicious lunge, the beast attacked, attempting to overpower the encircling angels. In that crucial moment, Saber landed between Eve and the encircling angels, taking a defensive stance. "Go to the Dark Lord," Saber commanded Eve. His voice filled with determination as he prepared to fend off the advancing Sky Hall angels. Sabrina and Olivia, their eyes filled with tears, witnessed the descent of the Dark Lord with heavy hearts. For Olivia, the Dark Lord had been a mentor who had nurtured her talents in alchemy, shaping her into the accomplished 5-star alchemist she had become. For Sabrina, he was not only a brother to Noah but also a brother to her. Yet, she had been compelled to betray him, wielding the god-killing arrow to protect her family. The Sky Hall angels, observing the rapid decline of the Dark Lord's power from the half-celestial stage to the immortal stage, recognized the opportunity to strike. With the god-killing arrow still embedded within his body, the Dark Lord's strength waned with each passing moment. Seizing the moment, several Sky Hall angels and beast men surged forward, their fervor undeterred. The undead army and the vampires, loyal to their lord, rallied to defend him, creating a chaotic clash of forces. Even as the undead army and vampires moved to defend their lord, a fraction of the Sky Hall angels and beast men managed to breach the defenses. Together, they unleashed a barrage of powerful spells, their combined forces converging upon Michael with lethal intent. The air crackled with unleashed energy as the spells surged towards their target, seeking to overwhelm the weakened Dark Lord. As the Sky Hall angels and beast men closed in on the fallen Dark Lord, they unleashed their devastating spells with a fierce determination. Blazing orbs of fire streaked through the air, exploding upon impact and engulfing the surroundings in searing flames. Arcs of lightning crackled and danced, striking the ground with electrifying force. Spears of ice materialized in mid-air, hurtling towards their target with deadly precision. Yet, as the onslaught of spells descended upon the Dark Lord, a pale blue shield manifested around him. This shield shimmered with a protective aura, absorbing the majority of the spell's destructive power. It flickered with resilience, deflecting the onslaught and mitigating the damage inflicted upon the wounded Dark Lord. Simultaneously, the Sky Hall angels and beast men who managed to reach the Dark Lord engaged in close-quarters combat. Their blades clashed with his armor, creating sparks that illuminated the darkened battlefield. The Sky Hall angels, with their celestial wings, swooped down, delivering swift strikes with their celestial blades. The beast men, with their fierce strength and agility, lunged and pounced, attempting to overwhelm the weakened Dark Lord. Amidst the chaotic clash, the Dark Lord evaded some of the attacks with fluid grace, swiftly parrying and countering their advances. His movements, though impaired by the god-killing arrows lodged within him, carried a lingering threat. With each strike, he fought back, retaliating with a combination of brute force and calculated precision. His strikes were swift and accurate, as if driven by a primal instinct to survive. However, some attacks managed to breach the Dark Lord's defenses, finding their mark upon his vulnerable form. His armor, stained with his own blood, offered diminishing protection as his strength waned. Each blow intensified the pain coursing through his body, threatening to sap his remaining vitality. "I think you should take a look at." Amidst the chaotic clash, the voices of the Sky Hall angels and beast men echoed through the battlefield. "Press the attack. He's weakening. Strike harder. Don't let him recover. He cannot withstand our combined might." As the battle reached its climax, Noah, consumed by pure rage, unleashed a barrage of catastrophic spells. Chains of radiant light materialized beside him, shooting forth with incredible speed to ensnare the Dark Lord. Simultaneously, a majestic winged lion, forged from pure light, materialized and lunged at Michael with fierce determination. The third spell Noah conjured resembled Michael's devastating meteor spell, but instead of fiery projectiles, Noah summoned 3 spheres of scorching light enveloped in radiant flames. The combined force of these spells struck Michael simultaneously, causing a tremendous explosion that sent shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. The resulting dust storm engulfed the area, obscuring the view and disorienting both armies. Seizing the opportunity, Noah summoned the remaining god-killing arrows, a manifestation of his determination to end the Dark Lord's life. Hands made of brilliant light materialized around Noah, each grasping a god-killing arrow. With the arrows in his possession, Noah descended from the sky, his intent clear, to deliver the final blow to the Dark Lord. Amidst the chaos, a sudden explosion of lightning illuminated the battlefield where Eve was locked in combat. Witnessing the overwhelming assault on her best friend, the Dark Lord, Eve's fury ignited within her. Her anger transformed into an intense surge of power as she leaped into the air, descending upon the ground with her hammer poised to strike. The resulting shockwave sent her adversaries hurtling through the air, their bodies flung aside with great force. Meanwhile, Saber, leading his vampire forces, charged at the surrounding Sky Hall angels and beast men, proving himself to be an exceptionally formidable opponent. With every drop of blood he consumed, Saber's strength and speed increased exponentially, turning him into an unstoppable force on the battlefield. On the other hand, Gaia surged forward like an unstoppable force, leaving a trail of devastation in her wake. Her ferocity knew no bounds as she tore through the ranks of the Sky Hall angels and beast men, their bodies no match for her ruthless onslaught. Limbs were ripped apart, and the ground became drenched in a macabre display of blood and shattered wings. The piercing cries of Gaia's victims reverberated across the battlefield, a haunting testament to her unrestrained power. However, as Gaia neared the area where Noah's spells had struck, Noah clenched his hands together, conjuring a luminous orb of light. The pulsating sphere radiated with escalating energy, growing more potent with each passing moment. With a swift motion, Noah hurled the orb toward Gaia, and upon impact with the ground, it erupted in a cataclysmic explosion. Witnessing the devastating attack on her dear friend, Eve's heartache transformed into an eruption of anger. She sprinted toward Gaia, her voice roaring with defiance. But the Sky Hall angels capitalized on the distraction, converging upon Eve from all directions. Despite her valiant struggles, the numbers overwhelmed her as 20 to 30 Sky Hall angels and beastmen closed in, forcibly subduing her. Their grip tightened, rendering her powerless against their combined strength. In a calculated move, the Sky Hall angels conjured a swirling vortex of chakra, positioning it directly above Eve's head. The chakra spun rapidly, releasing wisps of smoke that entered Eve's consciousness, rendering her unconscious and silencing her defiance. As the smoke dissipated, the battered figure of the Dark Lord stood before them. His armor was in tatters, splattered with his own blood. His weary eyes struggled to stay open, his wavering stance indicating his impending collapse. It was a sight that conveyed the toll of the battle upon him. However, Noah seized the opportunity, landing behind Michael with astonishing speed and thrusting another god-killing arrow into his already wounded form. The hands of pure light created by Noah moved in a blur, delivering swift and precise strikes as the god-killing arrows pierced Michael's body. Each strike resounded with a thunderous clap, the accompanying flash of lightning illuminating the sky. In a final desperate attempt, Gaia lunged at Michael, her own body battered and bloodied. Despite her injuries, she sought to deliver a decisive blow. Her hand appeared twisted, and crimson streams trickled from her wounds. Michael, despite being pierced by the god-killing arrows, intercepted Gaia, his grip tight as he locked eyes with her. Gaia collapsed onto Michael, their bodies entwined, as Noah unleashed the last and ultimate god-killing arrow, piercing through both their hearts. At that moment, the darkness that had shrouded the battlefield began to recede, allowing the gentle rays of the rising sun to illuminate the horizon. Michael plummeted to the ground, cradling Gaia in his embrace, while Sabrina and Olivia stood nearby, witnessing the fall of the Dark Lord. As Michael's body made contact with the earth, the god-killing arrows pulsated with an intense surge of energy. Then, in a climactic finale, the god-killing arrows erupted in a magnificent explosion, engulfing the Dark Lord's form in a mist of crimson. Noah gazed up at the emerging sun, a symbol of a brighter future now that the Dark Lord had been vanquished. Noah, having finally exacted his revenge upon the Dark Lord for the deaths of Alicia and Norvin, sank to his knees. As the radiant light surrounding him subsided, the true extent of the damage inflicted upon Noah became evident. His body was covered in bruises, blood seeping from numerous wounds. His once majestic armor now lay in tatters, a testament to the fierce battle he had endured. With the defeat of the Dark Lord, Saber took to the skies, his vampire followers vanishing alongside him. Ilara, fueled by a desire for justice, attempted to pursue the fleeing vampires, but Noah commanded her to stand down. "Let them go," Noah said, his voice weary but resolute. "It's over." As the dust settled and the chaos of battle subsided, Noah let out a sigh of relief. The long and arduous struggle had finally come to an end. Get ready for some goosebump moments. Chapter 1038. What really happened? Part 2. An error occurred while reading the file. Could not find file/data/www/panda_i/used_emails. TXT. 3 days after the defeat of the Dark Lord, a festive atmosphere filled the air as the world celebrated this momentous occasion. However, in River Town, where the final battle had taken place, and among the people of Gondolin who had remained indifferent to the war, there was no such revelry. In the midst of this, Pen Town was adorned with golden threads, vibrant lanterns, and an array of dazzling fireworks that illuminated the daytime sky. The townsfolk didn't mind the unusual timing and enthusiastically set off thousands of firecrackers and fireworks, rejoicing in the triumph of their beloved Lord Noah over the Dark Lord. Distinguished figures and leaders from all corners of the realm arrived at Pen Town to partake in the grand celebration hosted by Noah at his opulent residence, Winston Manor. The manor itself was a sight to behold, bedecked with colorful lights, shimmering lanterns, and intricately woven golden decorations. The entrance to the manor was lined with a red carpet, where people eagerly gathered, their cheers resounding like thunderclaps. Amidst the jubilant atmosphere, Olivia Palmer, hailed as one of the heroes for her courageous efforts to thwart the Dark Lord, arrived in her carriage. The carriage gracefully made its way through the sea of people, who stood on either side of the red carpet, offering their cheers and adoration. Outside the walls of Winston Manor, the townsfolk of Pen Town had congregated, eagerly awaiting glimpses of the illustrious guests and the festivities unfolding within. Their excitement was palpable as they cheered and applauded, their joy reverberating through the air. As Olivia gracefully alighted from her carriage, the enthusiastic crowd erupted into a chorus of cheers. Clad in a resplendent red gown befitting the grand occasion, she waved graciously at the adoring onlookers before making her way into the magnificent Winston Manor. Inside the manor, the atmosphere was nothing short of captivating. The grand hall, adorned with opulent decorations, exuded an aura of regality. Crystal chandeliers bathed the space in a warm and inviting glow, casting shimmering reflections upon the gilded walls. Elaborate tapestries depicting scenes of valor and triumph adorned the halls, adding an air of historical significance to the surroundings. Olivia followed the elegantly adorned corridors, guided by the gentle melodies of live music that floated through the air. The sound of joyful conversations filled the spaces as she navigated her way towards the grand hall, where the esteemed guests had gathered. As she entered the grand hall, her presence commanded attention. World leaders, including King Bredia, Noah's cousin Andrews, Yasmin Winston, Noah's sister Sabrina Winston, and Andrew's wife, Princess Catherine, daughter of King Bredia, were in attendance. Princess Catherine's two children added a touch of youthful exuberance to the gathering. The grand hall itself was a spectacle to behold. Lavish draperies adorned the walls, complementing the majestic artwork displayed throughout. The long dining tables were adorned with exquisite floral arrangements and fine silverware, promising a feast fit for kings. The air was filled with an intoxicating blend of tantalizing aromas from the meticulously prepared dishes, teasing the senses and whetting the appetite. Amidst the mingling guests, Olivia greeted familiar faces with warmth and grace, exchanging pleasantries and sharing in the collective joy of this momentous occasion. As Olivia entered the manor, she was greeted by Neela, one of Noah's trusted allies and an esteemed member of his elite guard. Neela approached Olivia with a respectful nod. "Lady Olivia, Lord Noah is waiting for you," Neela informed her. Understanding the purpose of their meeting, Olivia nodded in acknowledgement. She and Neela both knew that their destination lay deep within the labyrinthine corridors of Winston Manor. "Lead the way," Olivia gestured, following Neela as they discreetly slipped away from the bustling crowd. They ventured through hidden passages and descended a gloomy staircase, their footsteps echoing in the somber silence. The path to the dungeon prison felt ominous, with dimly lit torches casting flickering shadows along the cold stone walls. Reaching the entrance of the dungeon, Neela revealed a nondescript brown door concealed behind an illusion. With a simple motion, the door swung open, revealing the bleak confines that awaited them. The air grew heavy as they entered, the atmosphere thick with a sense of captivity. Within the dungeon, Olivia's eyes fell upon Noah, who stood before a row of glass tubes, each containing a captive individual. Among them was Ricky, her former lover, confined within a special cage designed specifically to hold the Dark Lord's surviving subordinates. A sigh escaped Olivia's lips as she observed his unconscious form. The glass tubes contained other prominent subordinates of the Dark Lord, including Adelia Wraith, Maxine, Tiberius, Titus, Optimus, and Trista. They remained motionless, unaware of their impending fate at the hands of Noah. "Noah!" Olivia greeted him as he turned to face her. Noah's face bore the evidence of the intense battle he had endured. Bruises marred his features, and a walking cane supported his weakened body. The strain of wielding the god-killing arrows and the wounds inflicted by the Dark Lord's dark flames had taken their toll. I thought you should have a final opportunity to see Ricky before we carry out their sentence, Noah explained, his voice tinged with a mix of determination and weariness. Neela observed Olivia's shocked expression, sensing the turmoil within her. Sentence? Noah, I believed we were planning to imprison them, Olivia responded, her voice betraying her deep-seated astonishment. Noah's gaze held a resolute conviction as he spoke. I do not wish to subject them to the cruelty of the Sky Hall. Handing them over would only result in prolonged suffering. What I offer is a swift and painless end, sparing them from a lifetime of torment for the crimes committed by the Dark Lord, Noah explained, his words filled with a somber gravity. Olivia's lips parted to voice her objections, but her words faltered before they could escape. She realized that Noah's perspective held a painful truth she couldn't deny. Though her heart ached for Ricky and she longed for Noah to spare him, she understood the difficult choices he had to make. In the grand scheme of things, a swift death was a merciful alternative compared to the cruelties the Sky Hall would inflict upon them. With a heavy heart, Olivia approached the glass cage containing Ricky, her hand tenderly pressed against the cold surface. Ricky, you should have left Ghost when you had the chance. We could have built a future together, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Concerned for the fate of the remaining Dark Lord subordinates, Olivia turned her attention to Noah, seeking answers. What about the others, Noah? She inquired, her voice filled with genuine curiosity. Noah's response was resolute yet tinged with a sense of understanding. The undead and vampires have been confined within a separate pocket dimension, under the care of the Sky Hall. As for the remaining subordinates, they are scattered and without leadership. We will track them down in due time, Neela interjected, offering a response to Olivia's question. Eager to uncover the fate of her dear friend, Olivia voiced her concerns regarding Eve Voldegard, the Dark Lord's closest ally. And what of Eve? Olivia's voice trembled with a mix of curiosity and sadness. She had noticed Eve's absence from the glass cages, and her heart yearned to know her friend's fate. Neela's response held no trace of sympathy, displaying her unwavering resolve. Eve chose to take her own life. It seems the Dark Lord had entrusted her with a potent poison, to be used as a last resort in case of capture, Neela revealed, her tone betraying no mercy for Eve. In Neela's eyes, the Dark Lord's subordinates held no value, and their actions warranted no compassion. We have managed to extract a sample of the poison from Eve's body, Olivia. I need you to replicate it in order to ensure a painless death for them. Noah's voice echoed with a hint of urgency. Olivia, still engrossed in her sorrowful gaze upon Ricky, responded without turning around. I think you should take a look at, why can't you do it yourself? You're just as skilled an alchemist as I am, Olivia questioned, her voice filled with a mix of curiosity and concern. Noah's response was laced with a tinge of helplessness. I cannot. This poison was created using Ghost's unique recipe. Only you possess the knowledge to replicate it, Noah explained, his words resonating with the weight of necessity. If you are unable, I can use my light flames to end their lives, but I cannot guarantee a painless death, Noah stated, his voice revealing the absence of choice. Olivia, absorbing Noah's words, took a deep breath, steeling herself for the task at hand. I will do it. Just provide me with a secluded space to work, Olivia requested, her voice determined. Noah nodded in agreement, acknowledging her request. I will grant you the solitude you need. Neela will ensure you have everything necessary, Noah replied before limping away from the dungeon. 2 hours swiftly passed as Olivia meticulously brewed the replicated poison, her focus unwavering. With the task completed, she made her way back to the main hall. Emerging onto the front yard, where the guests were gathered, Olivia joined the crowd. A stage, adorned with the glass cages containing the Dark Lord's subordinates, had risen from the ground. As she awaited her cue, Noah finally appeared on the stage, greeted by thunderous cheers from the assembled crowd. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, their voices reverberating through the air. Hail Lord Noah, the vanquisher of darkness! Praise be to the one who defeated the Dark Lord. Lord Noah, you have saved us all. The resounding cheers echoed around Penn Town, an outpouring of gratitude and admiration for their savior. The people hailed Noah as a hero, their voices filled with hope and reverence. In the distance, Selisi soared through the sky, her face radiating with joy. She had achieved her goal of eliminating the Dark Lord, eagerly anticipating her master's journey into the realm of gods, where she was destined to accompany him. Meanwhile, Noah stood before the gathered crowd, acknowledging their cheers and applause. With a humble smile, he raised his hand, signaling for silence. As his hand ascended, a hush fell over the crowd, their attention solely focused on Noah. Taking a deep breath, Noah began his speech, his voice resonating with sincerity. My friends, today we celebrate a great victory over the Dark Lord, but let us not forget that darkness does not reside solely within one individual. Noah addressed the crowd, his words capturing their attention. We all possess a shadow within us, capable of darkness and evil. It is a part of our nature. But it is through our choices, our actions, and our kindness that we can overcome this darkness, Noah continued, his voice filled with conviction. He urged the crowd to reflect on their own flaws and the importance of self-improvement. We must strive to be better, to do better, if we are to prevent the rise of another Dark Lord. Each and every one of us has the power to make a difference, to bring light to the world, Noah emphasized, his gaze sweeping across the faces of the people before him. His words resonated with the listeners as they contemplated the significance of their individual contributions in creating a brighter future. The crowd listened attentively, their hearts stirred by Noah's call for self-reflection and personal growth. They understood that it was not only the defeat of the Dark Lord that mattered, but also their own commitment to kindness and compassion in their daily lives. Noah gazed upon the glass cages, his expression filled with a mix of regret and resolve. He spoke to the gathered crowd, his voice carrying a tone of compassion and understanding. I regret having to impose this death sentence upon them. But I do so out of mercy, Noah confessed, his words punctuated by a heavy sigh. I have prepared a poison that will dissolve within the glass cages, ending their lives swiftly and painlessly. Once their souls have departed, I will use my light flames to burn their bodies. The crowd listened in somber silence as Noah continued, his voice filled with determination. This is not an act of vengeance or cruelty. It is an act of kindness. These individuals, once loyal to the Dark Lord, are now condemned to suffer a fate worse than death if they were to fall into the hands of higher authorities. I offer them release from that fate. Olivia watched as Noah nodded, signaling to Neela, who stood beside a lever on the side. With a determined expression, Neela pulled down the lever, and a mechanism was set in motion. A soft hissing sound filled the air as the glass cages were permeated by a swirling purple mist. The sound of Noah's voice broke the silence. May their spirits find peace in the realm beyond, he whispered, his voice carrying a solemn reverence. Olivia could see the anguish in Noah's eyes, a testament to the heavy toll that such decisions took on his soul. As the purple mist diffused within the glass cages, Olivia's eyes were fixed on Ricky and the others held captive. She noticed a subtle shift in their bodies, a slight twitch, as if their unconscious forms were responding to the presence of the mist. Gradually, their movements ceased, and Olivia realized with a heavy heart that their breathing had stilled. Just as Olivia's gaze lingered on Ricky's motionless figure, a gray-haired elder, adorned in ceremonial robes, approached his glass cage. His weathered hand gently pressed against the transparent barrier, causing a rune etched onto the surface to glow softly. The elder closed his eyes briefly, as if connecting with a realm beyond the physical, before turning around to face the expectant crowd. With a voice that carried the weight of both sorrow and reverence, the elder announced solemnly, "Their souls have departed from this world." His words hung in the air, embraced by a brief moment of hushed silence. A surge of relief and gratitude swept through the onlookers. The crowd erupted into a cacophony of cheers and applause, their jubilant voices resonating through the air like a wave of joyous energy. The cheers were a testament to the collective understanding that the Dark Lord's reign of darkness had finally come to an end and that Noah's decisive actions had paved the way for a brighter future. Then as he said, Noah's hand ascended into the air, his palm open as if harnessing the power of the sun itself. In response to his command, bright flames materialized, their brilliance illuminating the surroundings. The intense light flickered with vibrant energy, casting dancing shadows across the faces of those gathered. As the flames drew closer to the glass cages, they seemed to defy the laws of physics, seeping effortlessly through the barriers. The flames engulfed the lifeless bodies within, wrapping them in a shroud of radiant heat. In an instant, the bodies began to disintegrate, transforming into fine particles that swirled in the fiery vortex. The brilliance of the flames intensified, emanating an overwhelming light that enveloped the entire hall. It was as if the room had been consumed by a blinding celestial aura, rendering everyone temporarily blind to their surroundings. They shielded their eyes, squinting against the radiance, as the all-encompassing brilliance filled their senses. When the light finally subsided and the onlookers dared to open their eyes, they found themselves gazing upon a scene of ash and remnants. The once prisoned bodies of the Dark Lord's subordinates had been reduced to nothing more than a fine powder scattered across the floor. The air carried a faint trace of their existence, a bittersweet reminder of lives extinguished. Chapter 1039. What really happened? Final amidst the lively festivities, Olivia spotted Lord Information amidst the crowd. She approached the elf with a warm smile, extending her greetings. Lord Information, it's a pleasant surprise to see you here. I didn't think you would come, Olivia said, her voice filled with genuine warmth. Lord Information turned to face her, a bright expression on his face. He knew the significance of his role in the recent events, having aided Noah with crucial information that ultimately led to the Dark Lord's defeat. Why wouldn't I be here? This is a momentous occasion, a celebration of the Dark Lord's downfall, Lord Information replied, a glass of wine in hand. He began strolling through Lady Diana Winston's magnificent garden, inviting Olivia to join him. They walked side by side, engaging in a pleasant conversation. I am sorry for your loss, Lady Olivia. Lord Information expressed his condolences for Olivia's loss, understanding the pain she must be feeling after losing Ricky, her former lover. Olivia sighed, acknowledging his words with a sense of regret. I hope he finds peace, Olivia responded, her voice carrying a tinge of melancholy. Lord Information shifted the topic, curious about Olivia's future plans now that the Dark Lord had been vanquished. He acknowledged Olivia's exceptional talent as an alchemist, recognizing that her skills rivaled even those of the Dark Lord himself. What are your future plans now, Lady Olivia? With the Dark Lord no longer a threat, you stand as one of the most esteemed alchemists in the world. Say what you want about the Dark Lord, but his knowledge in alchemy was unparalleled, except perhaps by one man who is not present, Lord Information remarked, alluding to Noah's own prowess in the field. Olivia pondered the question, her footsteps gently guiding her along the dazzling flower beds that flourished beneath the shimmering night sky. She considered a future filled with tranquility, a life of peaceful solitude. To be honest, I have no idea. Perhaps I will find a place to settle down and spend the remainder of my days in peace and quiet, Olivia replied, her voice filled with a hint of longing for a life away from the chaos and turmoil of the past. After pondering for a moment, Olivia shared her intentions with Lord Information. I have plans to assist Noah in rebuilding Rivertown. The people of Rivertown deserve to have their homes restored after the devastating final battle between Noah and the Dark Lord, Olivia revealed, her voice filled with determination to aid those in need. However, her hopeful aspirations were soon met with unfortunate news as Lord Information interjected, delivering a somber revelation. Unfortunately, Lady Olivia, the Sky Hall has made the decision to close off Rivertown. The aftermath of the battle, including the radiation emitted by the god-killing arrows and the residue left behind, has rendered the area highly hazardous, Lord Information disclosed, shedding light on the grim aftermath of the clash between the two powerful entities. Shaken by this revelation, Olivia's concern for the displaced residents of Rivertown grew stronger. But where will the people go? What will happen to them? Olivia questioned, genuine worry etched on her face. They will be relocated to Breedia. However, we both know the history between the Dark Lord and King Breedia. Considering the Dark Lord's affection for the people of Rivertown and their devotion to him, it is unlikely that King Breedia will treat them fairly. They may find themselves living as almost slaves, with homes and no collars around their necks, Lord Information explained, his words painting a grim picture of the fate awaiting the Rivertown residents. Olivia's mind raced, recalling the incident when her teacher, the Dark Lord, had nearly beaten King Breedia to a pulp in his very throne for attempting to harm the people of Rivertown. Now, with the Dark Lord defeated, King Breedia's vindictive nature seemed to have resurfaced, seeking revenge on those whom the Dark Lord held dear. Curiosity piqued, Olivia inquired about Noah's awareness of the situation. Does Noah know about this? She asked, hoping for a glimmer of hope. Lord Information nodded solemnly, his expression mirroring Olivia's concern. Yes, he is well aware. Unfortunately, he is left with no viable alternatives. No kingdom would readily accept the people who once worshipped the Dark Lord as immigrants. Noah may have emerged victorious in defeating the Dark Lord and earned the title of hero, but he lacks the resources and political power to accommodate the displaced residents. It is King Breedia who has agreed to take them into his kingdom, Lord Information explained, the weight of the situation evident in his voice. As they continued their discussion, one of Lord Information's assistants, a golden-haired elf, emerged from the garden to deliver an important message. "My lord, King Breedia has requested your presence in his chambers," the elf reported. Olivia was taken aback by the unexpected turn of events, as it seemed that King Breedia and Lord Information were about to meet. Sensing an opportunity, Lord Information turned to Olivia and proposed an idea. "Speaking of the devil, Lady Olivia, why don't you accompany me to this meeting? Your presence might bring some positive influence to the plight of the Rivertown people," he suggested. His eyes filled with hope. "I think you should take a look at." After a moment of contemplation, Olivia nodded in agreement. "If it won't pose any inconvenience, I will join you in this meeting," Olivia expressed, her determination shining through. Lord Information's face lit up with a smile, appreciating Olivia's willingness to help. "Fantastic," he replied, handing his empty wine glass to a servant nearby. With their decision made, Olivia and Lord Information soared through the sky, their destination set for the kingdom of Breedia. The castle of King Breedia loomed majestically, a symbol of his wealth and authority. Under the clear night sky, the castle radiated an air of festivity, with decorations and lights illuminating the surroundings in celebration of the Dark Lord's defeat. As Lord Information and Olivia were escorted by the royal guards, they entered a grand and opulent chamber, befitting a king. The room was adorned with intricate tapestries depicting scenes of valor and triumph, while golden chandeliers bathed the space in a warm and inviting glow. The air was filled with the scent of lavender and sandalwood, creating an atmosphere of regality. In the center of the chamber, a large wooden table stood, polished to a lustrous sheen. On the other side of the table, King Breedia sat upon a magnificent chair, his back turned towards the entrance. His gaze was fixed upon the kingdom outside the window, where the festivities honoring the defeat of the Dark Lord were in full swing. "My lord," Lord Information respectfully bowed, awaiting the king's response. Olivia stood beside him, her eyes scanning the chamber as the royal guards exited, closing the door behind them. "Your Majesty, I brought Lady Olivia to this meeting about the Rivertown people. I hope you don't mind." Lord Information's words hung in the air, unanswered by King Breedia. As the seconds ticked by, an eerie silence hung in the air. Lord Information's anticipation turned to confusion, for there was no acknowledgement from King Breedia. Suddenly, a searing pain coursed through his side, causing him to gasp in shock. He looked down, disbelief etched across his face, as he saw Olivia driving a dagger into his gut. The betrayal cut deep, both literally and figuratively, as Lord Information grappled with the overwhelming realization that he had been deceived. A mixture of shock and terror consumed Lord Information as his mind raced to comprehend Olivia's treachery. There had been no sign, no inkling that she would turn against him. His thoughts swirled in a whirlwind of questions, desperately searching for a reason for her betrayal. Yet, no answer emerged from the depths of his bewildered mind. In a stunning turn of events, the king's chair slowly rotated, revealing a figure that sent shivers down Lord Information's spine. It was not King Breedia who sat upon the regal seat but the Dark Lord himself. The chamber seemed to darken, the air heavy with an ominous presence as the true mastermind behind the deceitful facade was unveiled. A sinister smile crept across the Dark Lord's face as he reclined in the chair, exuding an air of nonchalance. With a subtle flick of his wrist, he effortlessly summoned an empty chair behind Lord Information. Overwhelmed by blood loss and racked with pain, Lord Information crumpled into the chair, his gaze locked with the Dark Lord's piercing eyes. "The greatest betrayal comes not from enemies but from those we once called friends. Did you think only you can play that game?" asked the Dark Lord with a sly smile. Unbeknownst to Lord Information, he believed he had remained hidden in the shadows, playing a crucial role in providing the map that led to the Dark Lord's defeat. It was an illusion he held onto, thinking that Noah had vanquished the Dark Lord using the god-killing arrows. Yet there he was, face to face with the Dark Lord himself, his wicked smile illuminating the truth. With a swift and calculated gesture, the Dark Lord flicked his wrist, conjuring 7 exquisite silver arrows adorned with intricate runes. These were no ordinary arrows. They were the very same god-killing arrows that Lord Information had aided Noah in finding. As the shock of the Dark Lord's presence settled in, Lord Information sensed a flicker of the Dark Lord's immense power. It shattered the illusion that he was merely at the half-celestial stage, the stage he had displayed during his battle with Noah. Instead, Lord Information now beheld the unmistakable aura of the celestial stage radiating from the Dark Lord. The realization struck him like a bolt of lightning, dispelling any lingering doubts about the true extent of the Dark Lord's strength. Struggling against the pain coursing through his body, Lord Information managed to turn his head toward Olivia, who stood motionless nearby. The world believed that Olivia had abandoned her allegiance to the Dark Lord when his true identity was exposed. However, Lord Information's mind pieced together the puzzle, connecting her betrayal to the return of the Dark Lord. It became painfully clear that every action, every deception, was orchestrated as part of the Dark Lord's elaborate plan. All this time, Lord Information's voice faltered, weighed down by the enormity of the truth. The Dark Lord leaned forward, his eyes glinting with a mischievous glimmer. He began to narrate a story to Lord Information, his voice laced with an eerie charm. Once upon a time, there was a mighty lion who ruled over the animal kingdom. The lion possessed immense strength and power, causing fear to ripple through the hearts of the creatures in his domain. Yet, a cunning pack of foxes believed themselves to be far cleverer than the lion. They plotted and schemed, thinking they could outwit the powerful king of the jungle. But you see, the Dark Lord continued, his voice dripping with intrigue, the foxes were blinded by their own perception of strength. They failed to recognize the lion's intelligence, for they only saw his might. They assumed that the lion's seeming laziness was a sign of weakness, a vulnerability they could exploit. The truth, however, was far from their limited understanding. The lion was not lazy. He simply did not view the foxes as his true adversaries. He saw no need to waste his energy on mere distractions. The foxes, in their arrogance, mistook his disregard as a lack of intelligence, a sign of their imminent victory. But you, dear Lord Information, the Dark Lord's voice grew softer, a sinister undertone beneath his words, are akin to those misguided foxes. You failed to see the depths of my cunning, to comprehend the extent of my plans. You believed yourself to be the orchestrator of events, but in truth, you were merely a pawn in my grand design. Lord Information listened in stunned silence, his mind racing with a mixture of fear and realization. The Dark Lord's narrative had painted a vivid picture of his own ignorance and underestimation. Chapter 1040. The Dark Lord planned everything. As Lord Information struggled to stay conscious, Michael's words filled the air with a chilling truth that sent shivers down his spine. His bloodied hands trembled as he tried to comprehend the depth of the Dark Lord's manipulation. You see, Lord Information, I have a voice inside my head. It's never wrong. Every time I saw you, the voice warned me not to trust this elf, Michael calmly explained, his eyes fixed on Lord Information's pained expression. That's why I left some of my friends inside your office to keep an eye on you. So, I wasn't surprised when you decided to bring the map containing the location of the god-killing arrows to Noah. If you had given me the map, you wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be here, Michael continued, his voice unwavering despite the gravity of the situation. Lord Information coughed up blood, his gaze shifting towards Olivia, who now stood beside the Dark Lord, a cold expression on her face. Michael noticed Lord Information's glare and felt compelled to clarify. You and the whole world think I revealed myself as the Dark Lord during the war against Wuxia. But that's not true. I told Olivia long before that. She was a diligent student who understood that the Sky Hall was manipulating everyone with their narratives about me being evil. Besides, I needed someone behind enemy lines, and Olivia graciously accepted that task. Even my wife Gaia didn't know about this, Michael revealed, a satisfied smile crossing his lips as he saw his meticulous plan unfold perfectly. Lord Information's mind reeled with shock and betrayal, realizing that he had unknowingly played into the Dark Lord's hands. He struggled to find the strength to respond as darkness slowly encroached on his vision, the pain from the dagger wound becoming unbearable. She pretended to hate me, and the whole world, including Noah, bought that, Michael chuckled, reveling in his masterful deception. But Ricky... Lord Information mumbled, his voice weak. Lord Information had seen with his own eyes the poison enter the glass cage, the confirmation of the Dark Lord's subordinates' deaths by the Elder of the Sky Hall, and Noah using his light flames to destroy their bodies. Ricky, Michael slowly clapped his hands together, leaning back on his chair. Lord Information heard a footstep and turned his head, gazing at a dark corner of the king's chamber. To his pure shock, Ricky, the young man who was supposed to have died in Noah's light flames, emerged from the darkness. Even more surprising, Ricky was dragging King Breedia with him, the king struggling and muffled by a cloth in his mouth. King Bridia's regal red attire was now torn and tattered, a testament to the beating he had received. His neatly combed hair was now ruffled and disheveled, and his hands and legs were bound as Ricky dragged him towards the Dark Lord. Ricky forced King Bridia's head down onto the table where Michael was seated. The king's head hit the table with a thud, and Ricky firmly held him in place. Michael then slowly ran his fingers through King Bridia's hair, like a predator savoring its prey before the final strike. "My dear king, what did I tell you last time?" asked Michael. He ignored Lord Information for a moment and turned his gaze to King Bridia. "Mem," King Bridia managed to mutter through the cloth. "Take out the cloth," Michael smiled at Ricky. Ricky, in his black shiny armor, nodded and removed the cloth from King Bridia's mouth. "Help! Guards!" King Bridia screamed for help, but to his terror, no guards came to his rescue. "We soundproofed the room, you old fuck," another voice snickered from the corner. Lord Information turned his head and saw the Dark Queen emerge from the darkness. He was terrified, as he had witnessed both the Dark Lord and the Dark Queen supposedly die in a bloody mist at the hands of Noah. But it was all a facade. The entire war was orchestrated by the Dark Lord from start to finish. The world had been deceived, and the Dark Lord had won. Gaia, the Dark Queen, came to Michael's side and placed her hand on Olivia's shoulder. "Sorry I doubted you, Olivia. You did really great," said Gaia, genuinely surprised and shocked to learn that Olivia had never abandoned the Dark Lord and had remained loyal to him all along. "Guards! Help! The Dark Lord is here! Noah!" King Bridia continued to scream fiercely, even though Gaia had already informed him that the room was soundproofed. The guards and citizens outside were celebrating the Dark Lord's death, completely unaware that he was inside the king's chamber, holding the king's life in his hands. "I told you I'd kill you if you tried to harm the people I care about, King Bridia. Did you forget that?" asked Michael. Ricky forced King Bridia to stand straight and look the Dark Lord in the eyes. Just when Lord Information thought the surprises were enough, Michael reached his hand out to another dark corner. This time, it was Eve, the very same person Noah had claimed killed herself after being captured by the Sky Hall Angels in the battlefield. She walked out of the corner and handed Michael a large glass bottle containing a glistening red liquor, the highly addictive and potent red bliss that Michael had created and distributed as a part of his business empire to generate a stable income for his dark army. "Tomorrow the big headlines." Eve began her words playfully. "I think you should take a look at..." King Bridia fell to his death from his castle chamber while celebrating the Dark Lord's demise. He slipped from his chamber windows and fell to his death after drinking too much red bliss. King Bridia saw Michael pop open the wooden cork with a flick. He violently squirmed and screamed, but Ricky's hold was too strong, and no one came to his aid. Michael then grabbed King Bridia's jaw and pressed it, forcing his mouth open. He forcefully poured all the red bliss down the king's throat, without spilling a single drop. Then, Michael poured some liquid onto his palm and sprayed it onto the king. "Hope you can fly, King Bridia," Eve chuckled as she opened the windows. Ricky then moved the intoxicated king, who had stopped shouting and screaming, towards the open windows. Lord Information watched in horror as Ricky pushed the king closer to the edge. As Ricky stood with the king facing the opened windows, Michael turned his gaze back to Lord Information. "You have no idea about the forces you are meddling with." Lord Information managed to utter these words in a weak and pained voice. "You mean Seraphine," Michael calmly said, revealing his knowledge of the goddess Lord Information served. "Where do you think I am going next? Why fight the minions when you can kill their lords?" Michael calmly asked Lord Information, hinting at his grand plan. He seemed to know something about the goddess Seraphine, which troubled Lord Information deeply. "As far as the world is concerned, you disappeared from the face of this world." "Poof," Michael gestured, explaining how he intended to make it seem like Lord Information had vanished without a trace. "We can harvest his organs and use them in Project Phoenix." A playful young child's voice came from behind. Lord Information turned to see the Dark Lord's pet, the three-headed Hydra, landing on the Dark Queen's shoulder. The three heads of the Hydra looked at him with a mix of pity, mockery, and anger. The scene was filled with dread and tension as Michael's sinister plans and the true extent of his power unfolded. "We can't use his kidney, that's for sure." "Olivia stuck the dagger right through it," Iag remarked, and Olivia simply shrugged, showing no remorse for her actions. Project Phoenix played a significant role in deceiving everyone. During the climactic battle, when Noah used his meteor spell, creating a blinding explosion of light, Michael took advantage of the chaos. He swiftly teleported himself to the Dark Castle and sent another body, an exact replica of himself, to the battlefield. The Sky Hall Angels and Noah were fooled by the fake aura, thinking that the god-killing arrow had weakened Michael's cultivation level. In reality, Michael had been at the celestial stage the whole time, but he cunningly created the illusion of a lower cultivation level. Prior to the war, he absorbed the energy sources that Gaia had found and cultivated, which temporarily brought the system online. Using the system's capabilities, Michael teleported himself to a separate pocket dimension, triggered his heavenly tribulation, and successfully advanced to the celestial stage. Once he reached the celestial stage, the system remained permanently online, giving him a strategic advantage during the battle. Michael had come fully prepared, and his meticulous planning allowed him to deceive everyone around him, ultimately achieving his grand design. I hope the host's plan to let Noah live is a good plan. You had the probability of 100% chance to win against Noah, but you chose not to. The system sounded in Michael's mind. The system's voice echoed in Michael's mind, reminding him that he could have easily defeated Noah with a 100% chance of success. However, Michael had deliberately held back during the battle, using only 10% of his true power. He had allowed Noah to believe he had won the war, leading everyone to think that the Dark Lord was no more. This deception served as a crucial advantage for Michael's grand scheme. With Noah believed to be defeated, Michael could now slip into the realm of gods unnoticed and form an alliance with Dagon to bring destruction upon the pantheon and the realm of gods. As Lord Information learned about the Dark Lord's intricate plan, Ricky held King Breedia firmly by his collar at the edge of the window. "Let him fly," Michael snickered, and Ricky released his grip. High on the potent red bliss, King Breedia didn't even realize he was falling until he hit the ground face first, turning into a gruesome spectacle of blood and gore. After King Breedia's demise, Michael's gaze fixed on Lord Information, expressing gratitude for the god-killing arrows he had provided. His sinister smile sent shivers down Lord Information's spine. As Ricky approached, Lord Information's heart pounded with fear, realizing the horrifying truth. The Dark Lord's plan was far from over. "Thank you for the god-killing arrows, Lord Information. It was a pleasure doing business with you," Michael said with a chilling tone, acknowledging the collaboration between them. Ricky held a thick needle in his hand, and before Lord Information could react, it pierced his skin. The world around him blurred as the venomous liquid from the needle entered his bloodstream. The Dark Lord's wicked grin was the last sight that Lord Information beheld before darkness consumed him completely. Chapter 1041. Next Stop, The Realm of Gods. Chapter 1041. Next Stop, The Realm of Gods. 2 days after King Breedia's death, the soldiers and the king's family concluded that it was a tragic accident. The citizens believed that the king had celebrated too much after the Dark Lord's supposed demise and tragically fell from his chamber. Given the history of animosity between King Breedia and the Dark Lord, many found it plausible that the king had indulged excessively in alcohol. Meanwhile, Michael gathered all his loyal subordinates at a magnificent manor owned by Nithroel, the Empress of Ar. The manor was situated in a secluded canyon overlooking a serene lake, surrounded by lush greenery and majestic mountains. The lavish manor exuded an aura of grandeur, with its elegant architecture and marble halls adorned with exquisite artworks. Portraits of Nithroel, with her golden hair and elven grace, adorned the walls, showcasing her regal beauty. Using specially crafted teleportation scrolls designed by Eladir, Michael's subordinates and closest allies arrived at the main hall one by one. The hall resonated with a sense of anticipation as they gathered to hear the Dark Lord's plans and further their allegiance to him. Among the gathering of subordinates, Lenora, the elder vampire who had her head severed by the Blood Prince, stood tall, her body restored through Project Phoenix as Michael had promised to Trista, who was also present in the hall. "Where is the Dark Lord?" Saber inquired, standing next to Adelia. Adelia was anxiously awaiting to see her daughter Gaia. It had felt like an eternity since she had last laid eyes on her daughter. "How did you manage to escape?" Saber asked Adelia, curiosity evident in his voice. The last time Saber had seen Adelia, she was trapped inside a glass cage, breathing in deadly poison fumes, and succumbing to death, her body subsequently incinerated by Noah's light flames. "I have no idea. The Dark Lord said he had a plan to save us all. And true to his word, he saved us. But I don't know how," Adelia explained. Despite being the Dark Lord's mother-in-law, She hadn't been privy to the secret plan he used to rescue her. As they anxiously awaited the Dark Lord's arrival, the lights and chandeliers that illuminated the hall suddenly flickered and went out, shrouding the room in darkness. After a few seconds, the lights returned, and before them stood the Dark Lord, the Dark Queen, and their three-headed Hydra Vedora, perched atop the Dark Queen's shoulder. As the Dark Lord arrived before them, the sheer power emanating from him caused the lights to flicker and go out. It was evident that he was reaching a level where his energy, godly in nature, began to interact with mortal energies, resulting in such anomalies. Michael knew that to harness this energy radiation and unlock more of his true power, he had to journey to the realm of the gods. Upon his arrival, the subordinates erupted in cheers and applause. Overwhelmed by the realization of the Dark Lord's astounding feat, they were fully aware of the difficulty involved in making the world believe he was dead. Although they didn't quite grasp the extent of his intricate manipulations, they were certain that the Dark Lord had successfully fooled everyone. "Did I disappoint you?" Michael asked, fully aware of the answer. Soon, another figure appeared behind the Dark Lord. It was Azazel, who walked forward and handed him a roll of parchment. "Michael, no, my lord," came the resounding response from everyone. Soon, another figure appeared behind the Dark Lord. It was Azazel, who walked forward and handed him a roll of parchment. Michael unrolled it to find a list of vampires, undead, and soldiers of the Dark Army who had lost their lives. Michael sighed inwardly, knowing that such sacrifices were necessary in the pursuit of victory. He understood that winning a war often came with the heavy price of lives lost. "The Sky Hall has captured many of the Nightwalkers and undead. We are trying to figure out where they are being held," Azazel informed Michael. "What about the rest?" asked Michael. "We sent them to the Gravezinger's pocket dimension. They are safe and sound," Azazel confirmed. "My lord!" Suddenly Saber raised his hand, drawing Michael's attention. "What is it, Saber?" asked Michael. "Now that you have entered the celestial stage, why can't we get rid of the Sky Hall once and for all?" Saber asked Michael. As an elder vampire, Saber was displeased that his brethren and fellow Nightwalkers were being held captive by the Sky Hall. "You cannot underestimate the mortals, Saber. I was once a mortal and believed to be one. Look at me now. We cannot overestimate ourselves and underestimate our enemies just because we won one battle," Michael said in a serious tone. Despite achieving the impossible, he never underestimated his enemies or Noah, who may have few brain cells but have whole heap of luck. "Besides, we have bigger enemies now, the gods," Gaia continued. When the subordinates heard Gaia's words, they murmured in shock and surprise. At this moment, only the Dark Lord as the god of darkness can stand a chance against the gods. But we all witnessed what happened at the wedding. Even he wasn't strong enough to fight someone possessed by just a sliver of a god's power. "So just imagine how powerful higher-level gods will be," said Gaia. Gaia allowed her words to sink in for a moment, and a heavy silence filled the hall before she spoke again. "That's why we must become gods ourselves." Gaia's words sent a chill down their spines, but excitement also stirred within the subordinates. Even Claire, who had recently learned about her mother's imprisonment in another world like Aitne's, felt a mix of emotions. Adelia had previously discovered that the Dark Elves had imprisoned Claire's mother, Elasha Mortero, in a separate world. However, with Michael's plan in motion, he couldn't spare the resources to rescue Elasha at the time. Since Michael's plan to fake his death and so many moving parts, Michael did not risk deviating from his plan. Everyone who heard Gaia was shocked and left speechless, including Adelia. "But to achieve that, I have to go somewhere else, leaving you all here. That's why I called everyone here," Michael calmly explained. He didn't mention that to build a contraption capable of turning his subordinates into gods, he needed materials that could only be found in the realm of gods and beyond. Michael's machine was far superior to Hammond's, as it would transform his subordinates into true gods with stable and real power. Despite his vast resources and wealth, buying the necessary materials from the system store would lead Michael to bankruptcy. His only option was to venture into the realm of gods, as he had planned. But before he could embark on that journey, Michael needed to ensure that his subordinates carried out some secret tasks. "Although we lost our castle and made the entire world believe we failed, we cannot allow our enemies to gain more power. From now on, each one of you will remain hidden and operate in the shadows. You will continue with your assigned tasks, just as you always have, but this time, you will not reveal yourselves to the world. Staying in the darkness is crucial for our future success," Michael instructed. His subordinates listened carefully, fully aware of the importance of secrecy and the strategic value it would bring to their cause. To sustain our position, we need a steady flow of income. The red bliss distribution will continue as usual, now that Alicia is no longer there to oppose it. However, we must not rely solely on red bliss for our finances. We need to diversify. With Olivia on our side, we can expand our production and distribution of other alcoholic beverages. Our allies at Phoenix Manor will establish chains of restaurants and taverns, providing us with an additional source of income. Gaia elaborated on their future plans. Since Michael couldn't bring Gaia into the realm of gods until he found a way, she would stay behind to lead their subordinates. Although Michael usually allowed his subordinates to work independently, the stakes were too high this time, and any misstep could unravel his carefully crafted plan. Thus, he needed Gaia to stay and build up their shadow empire. While I'm away, you will follow Gaia's lead and continue to grow. The war we fought against Noah was just a prelude to the battles we will face in the future. But winning that war will make us the masters of this universe. I promised you all immortality, and soon, you will all become immortals. Gaia has discovered energy deposits that will help you advance to the immortal stage. However, you will have to cultivate in the cold mountains one by one. When your heavenly tribulations draw near, our allies in the sea realm will escort you deeper into the ocean, ensuring you emerge safely from the tribulation without falling into Noah's grasp, Michael explained. The subordinates attentively absorbed Michael's words, nodding in agreement with their determined gazes, ready to take on the challenges that lay ahead. But remember, the Empress is taking a significant risk by aiding us. If any one of you dares to reveal her involvement, I will know, and I won't show any mercy. Michael's voice turned colder as the lights flickered in response to his intense energy. With his future plans explained, Michael prepared to depart for the realm of gods. Each subordinate received their specific tasks from Gaia and Michael. After the instructions were given, Michael allowed Gaia some time with Adelia and made his way outside. While the subordinates gathered in the hall, Michael walked to the distant lake. As he gazed at the tranquil waters, the space around him began to distort. Suddenly, a figure materialized behind Michael. Without a second thought, the figure lunged at him, embracing him from behind. I almost thought I lost you, said the figure. I promised you I'm not going anywhere, Sabrina, said Michael, his smile gentle and reassuring. Just like everything else, Sabrina's betrayal at the end of the war was also part of Michael's plan. He had instructed her to pretend to betray him so that she could have her family back. With the Dark Lord seemingly gone, the Sky Hall would no longer keep the Winstons imprisoned. Michael had a soft spot for Sabrina, and he genuinely wanted her to reunite with her family. Chapter 1042 Kill Your Father-in-Law for Me. So, what's your next move, brother? Asked Sabrina, holding Michael's hand tightly. It's better if you don't know the details. You have your family back now. I promised you that, and I delivered. It's time for you to return to your normal life. The Sky Hall won't bother your family anymore, Michael replied. You are family too, and I don't even know your real name. Don't tell me you were always called Ghost, Sabrina chuckled, trying to hide the pain of parting from her brother. Even though she had only known that the Dark Lord was her brother for a short time, it felt like they had been siblings for eternity. The thought of never seeing him again was heart-wrenching. Michael, he whispered, finally revealing his true name to Sabrina. Michael. Sabrina repeated softly. Mom used to call you Dean, but I prefer Michael better, she said. Don't tell your mom the truth about what really happened, Sabrina. As long as the world and your family believe that I am dead, they will be safe, Michael explained, as tears welled up in Sabrina's eyes. Mom really misses you, Michael. If you just come and talk to her, I promise we won't tell anyone that you're alive. Mom stopped talking to Noah and all of us completely. I've never seen her like this before. She blames herself for what happened to you, Sabrina pleaded. There's no point in blaming, Sabrina. Although I was born to your mother, I was never truly her son. When I think about it, I only brought pain and suffering to her and her family. It's better if I stay dead to your family. She will eventually find a way to cope with my loss. Michael turned around and gently wiped the tears from Sabrina's eyes. With the Sky Hall believing that the Dark Lord had died, they brought Diana back to their home with Ethan and all the others they had captured when Diana revealed that the Dark Lord was her son. Michael was quietly happy with how everything had turned out. In this plan, everyone got their happy ending. No mother can truly get over the loss of her child, Michael. Don't you understand? The Sky Hall did something to Mother. I will prove to you that she never abandoned you, Sabrina said with determination. But Michael shook his head. No, do not go against the Sky Hall. There are powers at play beyond your comprehension. You've got your happy ending. Just live the rest of your life happily and stay out of trouble. I will watch over you as always from the shadows. Every time you see your shadow, just know that your brother, the god of darkness, is with you. Michael smiled and gently kissed Sabrina on her forehead. What about your happiness, Michael? You're still fighting for your life. Take me with you. I promise I'll get stronger and fight by your side. Sabrina grabbed Michael's hand and squeezed it tight, showing no intention of letting him go. I don't want you to fight, Sabrina. You deserve a life that I never had. What kind of big brother would I be if I put you in harm's way? Michael's voice showed the deep love he had for his little sister. Back on Earth, Michael grew up as an orphan, dreaming of having a family. But when he learned the truth that he was abandoned in this world and thrown into Earth like trash, abandoned by his own mother, his heart was shattered. However, despite his anger towards Diana for abandoning him, he never felt anything but love for Sabrina, who had been nothing but a good sister to him. Even though Michael only discovered that Sabrina was his little sister for a short amount of time, he couldn't help but love her with all his heart. Michael rarely showed his vulnerable side and loved someone like he loved Gaia, his wife. To Michael, Sabrina was his little sister, and he felt the strong urge to protect her from all harm. If you want to do something for me, keep Harry and Layla safe. Love them like you love me. Harry will be branded as the Dark Lord's son for all his life. Keep him safe from being manipulated and turned into a weapon like your brother Noah. Don't shield him from the reality of this world, but don't let the world hurt him either, said Michael. I will, I promise. I will look after him and love him with all my heart, Sabrina said. Good girl. Michael playfully ruffled her hair. What about Rowena? Have you heard anything about her? Asked Sabrina. She had never seen her elder sister since the Nagaland War. Although the world believed the holy maiden Rowena Winston made an unholy sacrifice by saving the Dark Lord, no one had found her body. If she is alive, my minions will find her, said Michael. Deep inside her heart, Sabrina sighed in relief. In her heart, her elder sister Rowena could fix any situation. She was the perfect embodiment of the word elder sister. If she was here, Sabrina had no doubt that she would reunite Michael with the rest of the family. Although Sabrina decided to pretend to agree to Michael's terms, she would never stop trying to bring him back into her family. Now you be a good girl and stay away from trouble. Don't make me come down there in the darkness and kick your ass, Michael playfully said once again, emphasizing for her to stay out of trouble. I'll find trouble if it means I can see you again, Sabrina chuckled and cried at the same time, showing her emotions as she didn't want to be separated from her beloved brother. I bet you would, Michael smiled as Sabrina embraced him once again. He sighed heavily, feeling the weight of their parting, and gently patted her on the back. As much as he loved Sabrina, he knew that staying with her would put her in mortal danger. Sometimes leaving the ones we love is a way of showing love and care for them. Now you have to go, Michael said, putting some effort into pushing her away from him. Sabrina clung to him, not wanting to let go. Promise me you will come back to me once you've dealt with everyone who stands in our way of being a family. Or I won't let you go. I would even tell everyone that you're still alive, Sabrina blackmailed him out of pure love. Michael couldn't help but laugh at her tactics. Don't laugh. I'm serious. I am your sister. I can be evil too, she said playfully. I promise you I will come back to you. But you need to achieve immortality and reach beyond the half-celestial stage. I don't know how long it will take for me to dismantle and destroy my enemies, said Michael, his voice turning serious, reflecting the magnitude of the mission he was about to undertake. I will wait for you and challenge death itself if I have to, Sabrina said with unwavering determination. I know you will. Now go, Michael said, once again cupping her head and kissing her on the top of her head lovingly. The emotions between them were palpable as they reluctantly prepared to part ways, each carrying their own burdens and promises. After Sabrina disappeared from his sight, a spatial portal suddenly opened up nearby, and Nithroel, the Empress of Aur, stepped through the teleportation portal. She walked calmly and gracefully to Michael's side, her golden hair shimmering in the dim light. Her presence didn't startle Michael. He knew she was coming. Nithroel was an ally, someone he trusted. She had played a crucial role in their plans, providing resources and assistance when they needed it the most. Ghost! Nithroel greeted him with a nod, her elegant demeanor still carrying an air of authority. Nithroel, Michael responded, his expression composed yet relieved to see her. You're really leaving, aren't you? She asked, her eyes searching his. I have to. There's something I must do, something that only I can accomplish, Michael replied, his tone serious. Good. But before you go, my dear Dark Lord, I require a favor from your assassins, Nithroel declared, her voice firm and unwavering. My assassins? You want someone eliminated? Michael inquired with a hint of amusement. As he expected, Nithroel nodded and produced a parchment from her space ring. Handing over the parchment, she looked at Michael with a determined gaze. Michael slowly unrolled the parchment, and as he laid eyes on the portrait of a middle-aged man with wavy gray hair and the name Ingram written below, the smile on his face faded into a deep frown. Ingram? Michael asked again, his tone serious and conflicted. Yes, Nithroel confirmed with a nod, not wavering in her request. But Ingram is Gaia's father, Michael's voice tightened with concern and disapproval. That fact doesn't change anything. That slippery bastard has been evading my assassins and war gods for far too long. I want your assassins to eliminate him. This is my price for continuing my unwavering support for you. We both know that once you wage your war against the gods, you'll need all the help you can get, Nithroel explained, her eyes locking with Michael's. The weight of the situation hung heavy in the air. Michael knew that Ingram had caused his fair share of trouble, but he also understood the complexity of the situation. Gaia's father, a man who had caused them pain, was also someone important to his wife. Emotions swirled within Michael as he deliberated Nithroel's request. He understood the stakes and the need to maintain Nithroel's support, but he couldn't ignore the personal conflict he felt. Think carefully, Dark Lord. This is a decision you must make with a clear mind, Nithroel urged, recognizing the turmoil in his expression. Chapter 1043. Next step is to become a demigod. After Nithroel disappeared from the manor grounds, Gaia approached Michael, noticing the parchment he held on his head. Did you say your goodbyes to your sister? Gaia asked playfully, smiling with curiosity. She had always found Michael's affection for Sabrina intriguing, considering his animosity towards the rest of the Winston family. However, Michael remained silent, and his serious demeanor caught Gaia's attention. She couldn't help but come closer, kissing him on the cheek in an attempt to lighten the mood. Somebody seems serious, she teased, but Michael still didn't respond. Concerned, Gaia took the parchment from his hand and glanced at the image and the name written on it. Her smile vanished, replaced with shock and anger. Why the hell do you have this asshole's picture? Gaia's voice trembled with emotion. She had learned from Adelia about her true parentage, how Ingram, the elder vampire, was her real father. Known as the oldest among the elder vampires, his age remained a mystery, possibly over 1,000 years. Gaia inherited his vampire genes, which, combined with Adelia's Naga genes, made her an extraordinarily powerful being. Nithroel wants Arya and her team to find him and kill him, Michael explained calmly. His words sent shockwaves through Gaia, leaving her stunned and overwhelmed by the revelation. Conflicting emotions surged within Gaia. She knew Ingram had caused her mother Adelia immense pain, but she couldn't help feeling a strange connection to him as her biological father. The realization that someone wanted him dead stirred a turmoil of thoughts and feelings in her heart. Gaia took a deep breath, trying to steady her emotions. Her gaze met Michael's, and she saw the understanding and compassion in his eyes. He knew how complicated this situation was for her. Gaia was struggling with a mix of emotions. The revelation of Ingram being her father had complicated her feelings towards him. On one hand, she despised him for abandoning her mother, Adelia. Having never known him and only recently discovering their biological connection, there was no love in her heart for Ingram. Yet, he was still her father, and the idea of killing him felt wrong. What did you say? Gaia asked, seeking clarity from Michael. She was unsure of what answer she expected from her husband, but she needed to understand his decision. I said I'll be done, Michael replied calmly. As the Dark Lord, he was accustomed to making tough decisions daily, and this was no exception. What? Why the fuck? Gaia's shock and confusion were evident in her voice. He's Nithroel's target, and she wants him dead if we are to remain allies, Michael explained. Gaia's mind raced with questions. She wondered what Ingram had done to provoke such a reaction from Nithroel. Did Michael inquire about the reason behind her desire for Ingram's death? She didn't say why, only that it's a condition for her continued support, Michael responded to Gaia's unspoken question. Michael realized that the task of killing Ingram was far more complicated than he initially thought. His plan to ally with Dagon, the ruler of Hell, against the Pantheon added another layer of complexity. Unbeknownst to him, Ingram was a loyal servant of Dagon, and killing him might not be well received by the powerful ruler. On the other hand, refusing to kill Ingram could cost him Nithrol's support, which was crucial for his future endeavors. Additionally, Adelia, Gaia's mother, would be devastated if Michael killed her husband, further complicating the situation. As the weight of the situation bore down on him, Michael felt the immense burden of his choices. He knew he needed to find a solution that protected his allies and kept his plan intact. However, the path ahead was filled with uncertainty, and Michael was well aware that each decision he made would have far-reaching consequences. Why the fuck did you agree? Gaia punched Michael in the shoulder and demanded an explanation. I had no choice, Michael replied, feeling the weight of his decision bearing down on him. For fuck's sake, Michael, Gaia moved closer to him and whispered, her frustration evident in her voice. Even if I agree to kill Ingram, I don't think Mother would approve. Despite trying to kill him a couple of times, she still loves him. That's just how women are, Gaia whispered. Her words brought a chuckle to Michael's face, providing a brief moment of relief amidst the seriousness of their conversation. That's how women are. So when do you plan to try to kill me? Michael joked. Don't joke around, idiot. I'm serious. Gaia rolled her eyes, her emotions still running high. Besides, you kinda sealed your fate when you chose to marry me. Realizing the gravity of their situation, Gaia proposed a solution. Then we must fake his death. Let Nithrol believe we killed him, but only tell Mother we didn't. That way we can satisfy both ends. While it seemed like a great idea, Michael knew it wouldn't be easy to deceive Nithrol, a fallen god and the goddess of hunting. Faking Ingram's death might not be enough to fool her. I don't think we can fool Nithrol. We have to kill him and make it look like an accident, Michael said, his voice serious and resolute. The prospect of killing her own father weighed heavily on Gaia's heart, but she understood the necessity of the situation. As the Dark Lord and his wife, they were faced with difficult decisions that required sacrifice and strategic thinking. I have a feeling Nithrol might not be what she seems, Michael. We need to be careful around her. If we could find Ingram, we might be able to figure out why Nithrol wants him dead, Gaia expressed her concern. Whatever her reason might be, we cannot afford to lose Nithrol as our ally, Michael asserted. Despite Gaia's desire to find a better solution, she knew that Nithrol's aid was crucial for their future plans. While they were contemplating Nithrol's request, Michael called Azazel to him. Azazel, bring Saber and Arya to me, he commanded. Soon, Saber and Arya appeared before the Dark Lord and the Dark Queen, bowing respectfully. Azazel stood behind Michael, ready to assist as needed. Saber, Arya, I want the two of you to work together and find this man. Michael handed the parchment to Saber. When Saber opened it and saw the portrait of Ingram, he was taken aback, just like Gaia had been. My lord, this is Ingram, Saber acknowledged. Only Gaia, Azazel, and a select few knew that Ingram was Gaia's father. I want you to find him and inform me as soon as you locate him. Do not approach him, and if he finds you, immediately back off. You are not to engage him under any circumstances, Michael instructed firmly. Saber and Arya nodded, understanding the seriousness of their task. Once they received their orders and disappeared to carry them out, Lenora and Trista approached Michael and Gaia. Both of them knelt before the Dark Lord, showing their respect and gratitude. Lenora couldn't believe that the Dark Lord had brought her back from the brink of death, constructing her a new body. Being an elder vampire, she knew the odds were against her, but Michael's power and determination had defied those odds. Trista, too, was filled with gratitude towards Michael, knowing that he had fulfilled his promise to her by rebuilding Lenora's body. I have eternal gratitude for you, my lord, Lenora expressed her heartfelt thanks. Her new body, skillfully crafted by the Phoenix Project, had strengthened her vampiric abilities to new heights, making her a formidable force. Michael turned his attention to the next task at hand. I have a new mission for both of you. Since the Sky Hall execution team has eliminated our allies, we have lost control of the southern continent, including Tiberius Freedomland. It's time we reclaim our authority over the region. Your job is to work with Sadie, recruit new members, and discreetly re-establish our control. If necessary, you may employ the Death Squad to eliminate the Sky Hall execution team, but ensure their deaths appear to be accidents. We don't want the Sky Hall suspecting our involvement behind the scenes, Michael instructed, entrusting Trista and Lenora with the responsibility of regaining control over the southern continent. Consider it done, my lord. When you next venture into the southern continent, our subordinates will be the ones ruling and governing the land, Lenora vowed, determination evident in her words. So, what's the plan now? Gaia asked, looking at Michael after everyone had left. I have one more thing I must do before heading to the realm of gods, Michael replied, cracking his knuckles. Inside his mind, memories of his intense battle with Evan resurfaced. It's time for me to become a demigod and deal with Evan once and for all. Selisi has shown her power, but now she'll experience what it means to be on the world's #1 hitman's list, Michael declared with a mix of snickering and confidence, knowing that he was renowned as the most skilled and deadly assassin. Let me kill that bitch, Gaia growled with anger, her eyes blazing. When you find her, you're free to take her out. But finding her won't be easy, Michael replied, acknowledging the challenge of tracking down Selisi, who had managed to evade them until now. After gathering the dark seeds, Michael had everything he needed to step into the second level of godhood, the demigod level. He had already chosen a secluded and powerful location where he would trigger the heavenly tribulation to ascend to the next stage of his divine power. Once he became a demigod, Michael knew he would possess enough power to confront Evan without any fear. Even though Evan had been turned into a god by Sales's contraption, he would no longer be a threat to Michael, the god of darkness. Michael's newfound power would ensure that Evan's abilities were nothing compared to his own. However, Michael was not interested in a direct confrontation with Evan. Instead, he wanted to take him out in an old-school-style assassination, leaving no trace of his involvement. Michael was a master of stealth and deception, and he relished the idea of taking down Evan from the shadows. Unaware that the Dark Lord had survived and orchestrated his own death as a ruse, Evan spent his days in bliss with his fiancée, Victoria, completely oblivious to the impending danger that loomed over him. Little did he suspect that Michael had singled him out as the next target before embarking on his journey into the realm of gods. This is the end of the battle between the gods arc. From the next chapter, the realm of gods arc will begin. Chapter 1044 Reaching the next godhood level. After departing from Nithrol's safe house, Michael used a teleportation scroll gifted to him by Eladir to arrive at the ominous demon's grave. The skies above the grave were a crimson red, creating an eerie atmosphere that matched the terrifying landscape. Michael's first objective was to locate the Queen's energy crystal and fulfill his promise to her. However, before he could do that, he had to ascend to the level 2 of godhood, the demigod level. In the distance, Mount Hades belched volcanic fumes into the crimson sky. The forge beneath the mountain awaited Michael's return, but for now, he had a different destination in mind. To trigger a heavenly tribulation and attain demigod-level power, he needed to face extreme heat. Mount Hades, with its bubbling lava and scorching temperatures, offered the perfect opportunity. Clad in his dark suit, Michael activated the powerful metal wings integrated into his armor. With a mighty flap, he defied the oppressive force of gravity and gracefully ascended into the crimson sky. As he soared higher, memories of his earlier arrival at the demon's grave resurfaced, when he struggled against the unyielding pull of gravity. Now, thanks to the enhancements of his armor, he effortlessly cut through the air, ascending towards the scorching summit of Mount Hades. With each powerful flap of his metal wings, Michael soared higher into the air, getting closer to the scorching summit of Mount Hades. As he approached, waves of intense heat washed over him from the bubbling lava-filled depths of the mountain. Despite his godly-powered body, he couldn't help but sweat profusely, feeling the intensity of the fiery environment. Finally, Michael landed on the mountain's peak, his gaze fixed on the boiling, oozing lava below. He hesitated for a moment, contemplating the system's instructions to immerse himself in the lava. With a hint of sarcasm, he addressed the system, questioning its peculiar plan. "Do you really want me to go into the lava? Did I do something to you?" Michael asked, a mix of humor and concern evident in his voice. The system replied, "Your body needs to be tempered with each element in its most powerful form. First, the fire. This lava isn't the purest form, but it'll have to do for now. Now imagine the lava as a cool swimming pool and jump down." Rolling his eyes at the rather simplistic suggestion, Michael couldn't help but feel a mix of annoyance and amusement. Imagine it as a swimming pool and jump down? That's your plan? He scoffed, feeling the challenge ahead of him. With the system's insistence, Michael braced himself for what was to come. He knew he had to trust the system, even if the idea of jumping into scorching lava seemed absurd. With a firm resolve, he reminded the system, "If I die, make sure to bring me back through the Project Phoenix." The system responded in its usual nonchalant manner, "You are not going to die. Maybe get some burns. Nothing a healing potion can't fix." Though skeptical, Michael understood he had little choice. He removed his armor, setting it aside, and focused his power to store it safely within the system. Standing atop the building, naked under the ominous glow of the lava's fiery light, Michael's body bore the marks of his many battles, illuminated by the deep orange hues. Here goes nothing. Summoning his courage, he took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. With determination, he ran to the edge and, shouting, closed his eyes and leaped straight into the molten pit. Fuck! As his body made contact with the lava, an agonizing surge of pain coursed through him. It felt as if every nerve ending was ablaze, but before his mind could fully register the torment, he was enveloped by the searing liquid. The world around him became a hazy blur of intense heat and burning sensations. Inside the dilapidated castle, Andor stood in disarray. His once noble and composed appearance was now replaced by torn clothes, disheveled hair, and bloodshot eyes, reflecting his inner turmoil. Suddenly, a radiant light illuminated the castle, revealing the presence of Xiaofan, the goddess of information. Her form, as always, was pure light, and she observed the state of the castle with surprise. Andor, who was known for his calm demeanor, seemed agitated and distressed. "I thought you would be celebrating, Andor," Xiaofan spoke gently, trying to understand the reason behind his turmoil. "That motherfucker fooled me." Andor's voice thundered through the castle, causing the walls to tremble under the force of his anger. "What do you mean? Your archenemy, the god of darkness, is dead?" Xiaofan inquired. "Then why can't I return to the realm of gods? The barrier is still intact." Andor's frustration was evident. For 5,000 years, he had believed that the death of either the Dark Lord or Noah, the god of light, would shatter the barrier separating the mortal realm from the realm of the gods, a barrier created by the previous Dark Lord. In his current state of distress, Andor was grappling with the shocking revelation that the barrier remained untouched, despite the Dark Lord's supposed demise. The uncertainty of the situation weighed heavily on him, and his emotions ran high, causing him to vent his frustration with a powerful shout that shook the very foundation of his crumbling castle. However, to Andor's disbelief, nothing happened as he had believed. The Dark Lord had supposedly been killed by his own brother Noah, using the god-killing arrows, yet the barrier remained steadfast and unchanged. "Maybe we don't fully understand the nature of the barrier," Xiaofan tried to reason with Andor, her voice calm and reassuring. "The Dark Lord was slain by the god of light, Andor. I witnessed the energy fluctuation and saw his body blown into pieces." But Andor's agitation was evident as he manically shook his head. "He couldn't have died. He must have faked his damn death. How else am I still here?" he questioned, his emotions in turmoil. The idea that the Dark Lord had somehow orchestrated his own death to deceive everyone, including Andor, gnawed at him. "Don't freak out, Andor. With the god of darkness gone, the Pantheon can now investigate the barrier further," Xiaofan said in an attempt to console him. But Andor's anger was overwhelming, and he roared with sheer might, shaking the castle to its core. "Enough!" he thundered, his frustration evident in every fiber of his being. "You promised that if I helped you fight Dagon to keep him at bay from reaching the realm of gods, you would seek help from the Pantheon and free me from this wretched place. I have had enough of this. I want to get out of here right now," Andor shouted, his voice echoing through the crumbling walls. As he roared, the time and space around him distorted, a testament to his power as the god of time and space. His anger was so immense that it caused the very fabric of reality to tremble. Time in the entire mortal realm seemed to freeze momentarily, feeling the strain of Andor's overwhelming rage. "Calm down, Andor. You have waited all these years to see the Dark Lord's demise, and now your wish has come true. It's only a matter of time before we break the barrier," Xiaofan urged, attempting to soothe him. She had anticipated that Andor would be celebrating his long-awaited freedom, but instead, his frustration and restlessness were palpable. He had believed that the barrier keeping him trapped would shatter once either the Dark Lord or Noah met their end. Yet the situation had not unfolded as he expected. Without the Dark Lord to anchor the barrier, it was only a matter of time before we find the rest of the seal-bearers and kill them. I'm certain that once the seal-bearers are dead, the barrier will crumble. Without the Dark Lord, it'd be as easy as plucking flowers to kill the seal-bearers. Seraphine's words seemed to soothe Andor's anger. Can you do me a favor, Seraphine? Andor turned around to face Seraphine's radiant light form. Anything for you, Andor, she replied. Go to the goddess of wisdom and inquire about what would happen when a god dies, Andor said with a grave tone. I don't want that slippery bastard to fool me once again, he added, his mind filled with killing intent towards his archenemy, the Dark Lord, also known as the God of Darkness. What are you thinking, Andor? Seraphine asked curiously. If we were to figure out what would happen when a god dies, we can truly know if the Dark Lord died or if that son of a bitch faked his death. But the only person who might possess such knowledge outside the pantheon would be your sister, the goddess of wisdom, Andor explained with determination in his voice. When Andor mentioned seeking help from the goddess of wisdom, Seraphine fell silent. She and her sister weren't on great terms, and dealing with the goddess of wisdom's cryptic messages was always a challenge. You know how she is. I'm the goddess of information and her sister, but even I have a hard time decoding her cryptic messages, Seraphine said, her annoyance evident in her voice. We have no choice, Seraphine. If that bastard survived, he would never reveal himself. I know how he thinks. He will be striving to become even stronger as we speak. Once he reaches the demigod level, no one can keep surveillance on him. He will operate alone in the shadows. You have no idea what he is capable of when he's hidden. You and the entire pantheon would be walking with a target on your backs, Andor warned, his voice filled with concern and urgency. Very well, Andor. I will go talk to her. But if I were you, I wouldn't hold my breath. She can be quite elusive, Seraphine sighed, acknowledging the difficulty of dealing with the goddess of wisdom. Honey, if the god of darkness is alive, his next move would be to meet Dagon. We must prevent them from allying. Otherwise, you and the pantheon are as good as lost in the war, Andor said with a hint of amusement in his voice. The light surrounding Seraphine gradually faded away as she left the castle, returning it to its previous eerie look. Now alone, Andor stood in the middle of the castle, his mind consumed with thoughts of how to confront and defeat the Dark Lord. However, for the first time in a long time, Andor felt a sense of unease. He feared that he might be losing his edge in the ongoing battle against the elusive and cunning god of darkness. Chapter 1045. Reaching the next godhood level too deep within the fiery pits of Mount Hades, Michael endured the excruciating pain of the lava melting his flesh. The intense heat pushed his limits to the maximum. According to the system, to trigger a heavenly tribulation and ascend to the demigod level, he had to undergo a trial by a specific element. In this case it was the trial by fire. His mind, soul, and body were being tested to their utmost capacity as he braved the scorching heat of the molten pit. Inside the lava where no one could see, Michael surrounded himself with the dark flames to endure the volcanic lava. As he was cultivating, his mind wandered into another realm. Soon, Michael found himself in a desolate, nightmarish landscape, the skies above a pitch-black void. Strange, shadowy creatures lurked in the darkness, their glowing eyes fixated on him. These monstrous beings were the illusions he had to face to ascend to the demigod level. The creatures appeared as dark, ethereal beings with elongated limbs and sharp claws. Their bodies seemed to be made of an ever-shifting inky substance, and their eyes emitted an eerie glowing light. Each creature had unique features, some resembling twisted amalgamations of multiple animals, while others seemed to embody the embodiment of fear itself. These creatures were purposefully created by the universe to challenge and temper Michael as the god of darkness. Every god had to undergo different trials to ascend to the next level of their godhood. While some trials were easier, others, like Michael's or Rudra, the god of war, faced much harder tests to reach the next stage of their divine power. As Michael confronted the illusions, the whispers of the creatures echoed through the nightmarish landscape. Their voices were haunting, weaving through the darkness like sinister melodies. Look at him, stumbling in the shadows, one creature hissed, its eyes glowing with malice. The Dark Lord, they call him. But does he truly understand the power he wields? Another creature chimed in, its voice sly and taunting. Oh, he may think he's embraced the darkness, but he's yet to comprehend its true essence. Darkness is not just the absence of light. It's the embodiment of all that lies within the hearts of living beings. Michael, battered and determined, could hear the whispers surrounding him. Despite the pain, he questioned the creatures. What are you? Illusions born from my fears, or something more? A third creature slithered closer, its form shifting and contorting in the shadows. We are the manifestation of your doubts, your insecurities, and your deepest fears, it rasped. But we are more than just illusions. We are the echoes of the power you seek. Michael's curiosity piqued and he asked, What do you mean, the power I seek? I am the Dark Lord, the God of Darkness. I have embraced the shadows within me. Oh, but darkness is not just about destruction and chaos, the first creature replied, its voice echoing with ancient wisdom. A true God of darkness has the power to harness and control the darkness within others. It is the power to influence minds, to manipulate emotions, and to bend the will of both mortals and immortals alike. The second creature continued, its tone eerie and mesmerizing. With darkness comes the ability to cloak oneself in secrecy, to move unseen through the world, and to strike fear into the hearts of those who oppose you. It is not just brute strength, but a subtle, insidious power that can control the very fabric of existence. Michael listened intently, beginning to grasp the deeper significance of the darkness he wielded. So, a god of darkness can control the darkness within people, he pondered, making them instruments of their will? Indeed, the third creature hissed, but it is not without consequences. The darkness can consume both the wielder and the wielded. A god of darkness must master the balance between wielding this power and succumbing to its allure. The first creature added, and that is where true strength lies. The power to control the darkness without letting it control you. As Michael absorbed their words, he realized that embracing darkness was not merely about brute strength or ruling through fear. It was about understanding the intricacies of the shadows and their influence on both the world and oneself. The second creature whispered seductively, Join us, Dark Lord. Embrace the true power of darkness and become an unstoppable force. As Michael stood firm, empowered by his newfound understanding of darkness, he was taken aback as more and more creatures emerged from the shadows. They swirled around him, their forms shifting and twisting with malevolence. Their sudden attack left him confused and shocked, as just moments ago, they were whispering and conversing with him. Before he could react, the creatures lunged at him, their movements swift and relentless. Michael tried to fight back, but his attack seemed futile against these spectral entities. Their dark tendrils coiled around him, restricting his movements and draining his strength. In the midst of the chaos, the creatures revealed their true intentions. With ghastly precision, they reached into Michael's very being, pulling out wisps of darkness that took the shape of his deepest fears. One by one, the shapes materialized into haunting figures. Among them was Spectre, the mentor who had once turned him into a ruthless hitman on Earth. The Spectre wore the same dark hooded cloak, his cold eyes locking onto Michael's. The memories of his past life as an assassin flooded back, stirring feelings of guilt and remorse. Beside Spectre stood a tall, menacing orc, the very same one who had been possessed by the god of war Rudra's sliver of grace and attacked him on his wedding day. The orc's eyes glowed with malevolence as he wielded a wicked, blood-stained blade. The fear of losing his loved ones all over again gripped Michael's heart. These manifestations of his fears and past experiences were overwhelming, and for a moment, Michael felt helpless against the onslaught. The creatures seemed to feed on his vulnerability, their sinister laughter echoing in the dark abyss. However, as he struggled to regain control, he remembered the whispers of the creatures before their betrayal. The true power of darkness was not just about destruction but also about harnessing and controlling the shadows within. Drawing upon his new understanding, he steadied his mind and focused on the darkness within himself. As Michael confronted the illusions, each attack from Spectre, the orc, and the creatures felt terrifyingly real. He was thrown, slashed, and pummeled by these spectral foes, causing immense pain and challenging his determination. With every blow he endured, the system instantly rebuilt his body, allowing him to persevere. While Michael was confronting the darkness inside his mind, the lava and dark flames slowly melted down his skin. At that moment, Michael's flesh slowly melted down, revealing his skeleton. But soon, the dark flames slowly coiled around every bone in his body and started to rebuild his flesh. The seed of darkness Michael acquired after completing a speed trial in the form of golden energy slowly infused with the dark flames to enhance his speed. On the other hand, the the system started to upgrade all his spells. The system has upgraded the Silenes spell to level 2. The system has upgraded the Meteor spell to level 2. The system has upgraded the Energy Devour to level 6. The system has upgraded the Soul Eater to level 6. The system has upgraded the Soul Stare to level 5. The system has upgraded the Responsive Shield to level 9. The system has upgraded the Environment Scanning to level 9. Inside Michael's mind, the battle against the darkness raged on. The creatures of darkness, led by Spectre and the menacing orc, relentlessly attacked him. Each blow felt agonizingly real, and the pain was intense. Michael struggled to hold his ground, feeling overwhelmed by the relentless assault. But something inside him snapped. With a fierce roar, he unleashed a powerful shockwave that sent the dark creatures flying backward. The whispers of the creatures echoed in his mind, urging him to embrace the darkness, to feel the connection that bound them all. His eyes closed, and he embraced the connection to the darkness, sensing the pulsating energy within the creatures. The whispers grew louder, goading him to tap into his true self, to embrace the darkness that was part of him as the god of darkness. Amidst the pummeling from Spectre and the orc, Michael opened his eyes, unflinching as if welcoming the pain. He allowed the attacks to hit him without yielding an inch, drawing strength from the growing connection to the darkness. With newfound clarity, he reached out with his hand, his touch suffused with power. He felt the beating heart of darkness within the creatures and understood that this was an integral part of his own power as the god of darkness. With conviction, he crushed the darkness within them, absorbing it into himself. As the dark creatures were stilled by Michael's actions, their whispered encouragements intensified. They urged him to embrace their essence, to become one with the darkness. Michael, now embracing his role as the god of darkness, stood tall and unyielding. With each dark creature he absorbed, he felt a surge of strength and confidence coursing through him. His form grew larger within his own mind, towering over the defeated creatures. Yes, embrace it. Become one with the darkness. The creatures urged, their voices resonating with excitement. Michael's determination was unwavering, and he continued absorbing the darkness within them. As he did, a new sensation washed over him, a power that felt innate, beyond the system's limitations. It was his own power as the god of darkness, and it surged through him, making him feel more potent than ever before. At that moment, he realized that he had always possessed this power within himself, waiting to be acknowledged and harnessed. It wasn't just a title given to him. It was who he truly was. Congratulations to the host for reaching level 2 of the godhood, demigod level. An innate power has unlocked. Body reconstruction has 65% completed. As Michael battled the darkness within his mind, a sudden echo reverberated through the dark realm. It was the voice of the system, breaking through the haunting whispers of the creatures. As the system's voice reached him, the darkness began to gradually fade away, leaving a sense of clarity in its wake. In the realm of volcanic lava, Michael's body was encased by the dark flames and the system's power. Slowly, he emerged from the molten pit, floating effortlessly in the air. The dark armor of the god of darkness gently covered his once naked body, bestowing him with an imposing and powerful appearance. His hair, as black as the night, cascaded down to his shoulders, adding to his formidable aura. The transformation was complete, and Michael now exuded an air of confidence and strength as the god of darkness. Chapter 1046. On the way to Council of Immortals. After ascending to level 2 of godhood, Michael stood proudly atop Mount Hades, his fist clenched in determination. The power within him surged, and dark flames flickered and danced around his body. However, before he could take a step forward, a commanding voice echoed through the realm. "Where is my promised soul peace?" demanded the unmistakable voice of the queen, radiating immense power. Recognizing the urgency in her tone, Michael replied without hesitation, "I am on my way to retrieve it right now." "No excuses. Idiot!" The queen's anger erupted, and Michael was pushed backward by the force of her shout. She continued, her voice seething, "The mortals have found my crystal and are attempting to extract my soul piece. I want it back immediately. Do you have any clues about its location?" Michael inquired, mindful to remain respectful in his tone. He knew better than to provoke an ancient powerful entity like the queen, especially since he intended to use her in the impending war against the gods. "The place they call the Council of Immortals," the queen revealed. "It's as good as done. I will retrieve it within 4 days," Michael assured her, confident in his abilities to fulfill the task. You have 2 days. The Queen's roar echoed through Michael's mind before her presence faded away. With a heavy sigh, Michael activated his metal wings and gracefully soared away from Mount Hades. As he flew, the colossal bulls still grazed in the distance, and the monsters roamed freely, but none dared to challenge the god of darkness. Soon, Michael left the eerie demon's grave behind and appeared high above the sea surrounding the Aur continent. From this vantage point, he could see the vast expanse of Aur, with its cold mountains in the north covered in snow. The tallest peak reached into the clouds, standing majestically beyond their reach. To conceal his true identity, Michael suppressed his powerful cultivation level to appear as a mere core-strengthening stage cultivator. He donned silver robes over his dark armor and wrapped himself in a cloak, carefully hiding his face with the hood. The last thing he needed was for anyone to recognize him and spread the news that the feared Dark Lord was still alive. Concealing his face and cultivation level, Michael flew swiftly toward the cold mountains. For ordinary cultivators, the journey would have taken months, but thanks to his newly attained demigod-level powers, he reached the vicinity of the cold mountains in just 10 hours. The region was thick with arch and celestial energy, making it a coveted destination for those seeking breakthroughs beyond the soul-refining stage. However, the extreme cold rendered the place uninhabitable and perilous for most. Many cultivators who attempted the journey either succeeded in their breakthroughs or met their end in the freezing temperatures. The top of the tallest mountain in the cold range, Mount Galleon, served as the headquarters of the Council of Immortals. The energies there were abundant and potent, attracting cultivators from all over who hoped to attain higher stages of cultivation. The mountain's sheer size made even Mount Everest pale in comparison. As Michael approached the mountain, he noticed several groups of cultivators heading towards the cold range. Among them was a group of young cultivators adorned in bright ruby-red robes adorned with intricate golden engravings. Their youthful appearance, arrogant demeanor, and the expensive jewelry they wore hinted at their belonging to a prominent sect in Aur. The remaining groups consisted mostly of elderly men, clearly stuck in cultivation bottlenecks and seeking seclusion within the cold mountains to progress further. Michael quickly activated the APD to inject a hair growth pill into his bloodstream. Soon, a thick black beard sprouted on his face, adding to his disguise. His long hair completed the transformation, making it nearly impossible for anyone to recognize him as the feared Dark Lord. With the upgraded environmental scanning ability, Michael sensed several powerful beings in the vicinity of the mountain. Though strong, none of them came close to his level. These figures stood at the fusion stage, half-immortal stage, and immortal stage of cultivation. Michael knew that the immortals would be stationed at their headquarters atop the peak of Mount Galleon. As he approached the mountain, Michael felt the presence of an energy dome surrounding it. True to his senses, a translucent white barrier enveloped the cold mountains. By the time he slowed his flight, the sun had set, and the mountains were bathed in the soft glow of 4 dazzling moons and the shimmering light of stars. The snow under the moonlight seemed to sparkle with its own radiance. Once Michael and the other groups reached the outskirts of the cold mountain and noticed the barrier, a beast-man floated through it and ordered everyone to stop. This beast-man had the upper body of a hyena and the lower body of a human. Clad in hand-woven brown robes, he looked formidable, and his half-immortal stage cultivation shocked and surprised everyone present. The cold mountains are closed for flying. To reach the summit, please continue on foot, the beast-man stated firmly. An old man with a hunchback and dressed in black robes questioned the beast-man's decision. What is the meaning of this? I traveled all the way from Azer continent, and I haven't heard that the mountains are closed for cultivators, he said, his annoyance evident, though he still maintained respect for the guardian of the cold mountains and the servant of the Council of Immortals. Another youngster from the group, dressed lavishly in fine clothes, voiced his frustration. How are we supposed to reach the summit without flying? Do you expect us to trudge through this freezing cold all the way to the top? He demanded. The guardian of the cold mountains simply replied, Yes. If you enter the mountain range and start walking, you can reach the summit in 2 months, the guardian added matter-of-factly. Inside, Michael couldn't help but snicker at the thought of taking 2 months to reach the summit. The queen had given him only 2 days to retrieve the crystal containing a piece of her soul. His mission was complex, as he had to retrieve the crystal without revealing his true identity as the Dark Lord. If news of his survival got out, the world would know that the Dark Lord had not perished but instead faked his death. You can try to fly, but we have arrays and runes in place to prevent it. Now, if you don't agree with the new rules, you're free to turn around and leave. Have a good day, the guardian replied calmly before turning around and disappearing above the clouds, flying away. With no other choice, the cultivators sighed in resignation and reluctantly accepted the new restrictions. They knew they had to leave behind the comfort of flying and make their way to the summit on foot. What an arrogant jerk, one of the lavishly dressed youngsters muttered, disdain evident in his voice as he descended to the ground. Following the group's lead, Michael also descended to the ground. As he landed in knee-high snow, he was greeted by a scene of pure white, with mist swirling and the wind howling around him. The snowstorm raged fiercely, making it challenging for many cultivators to see even their own hands in front of them. However, Michael activated his X-ray vision, allowing him to see through the blizzard with ease. He observed every cultivator using thermal vision to navigate through the snowy landscape. Playing along, Michael joined the group, walking through the snow with determination. He knew that, for now, he had to blend in with the other cultivators to accomplish his mission without drawing attention to himself. Michael! Michael, where the hell are you? Suddenly, Gaia's voice echoed in Michael's mind. What's wrong? Michael asked. I've been trying to reach you for 4 days. Where have you been? Gaia's voice held a tinge of worry. I came to the cold mountains to retrieve the Queen's soul crystal, Michael explained. The soul crystal in the cold mountains? How did it end up there? Gaia asked, clearly shocked. The immortals somehow got hold of it and took it to their headquarters on Galleon Mountain. I have only 2 days to get it back for the Queen, Michael replied. Those idiots have no idea what they're messing with, do they? All right, do you need my help? Gaia offered. No, take care of things on your end. I'll handle the immortals, Michael assured her. But how do you plan to deal with them? If you kill them, news of their deaths will spread like wildfire, and I'll need to control the newspapers and craft a different narrative, Gaia explained, well aware that any deaths linked to the immortals would lead people to suspect the involvement of the Dark Lord, even if he had faked his demise. They won't die. They'll simply disappear, Michael replied, a cold snicker escaping him. As the group of cultivators made their way through the relentless snowstorm toward the summit of the cold mountains, the youngsters who were previously dressed in lavish red robes grew increasingly agitated. Their complaints and frustration echoed through the freezing air. I can't believe they expect us to walk through this freezing wasteland. This is absurd, one of the youngsters exclaimed, his face red from both anger and the biting cold. Who do they think they are? Treating us like this is unacceptable. Discontent and annoyance. The icy wind seemed to carry their grievances as if the mountains themselves were bearing witness to another young cultivator yelled, his breath visible in the frosty air as he spoke. This is a complete waste of our time. We should be soaring through the skies, not trudging through the snow like commoners. A third youngster chimed in, stomping his feet to keep warm. Each step through the knee-deep snow seemed like an arduous task, and their complaints grew louder with every passing moment. Their voices mixed with the howling wind, creating a chorus of discontent and annoyance. The icy wind seemed to carry their grievances as if the mountains themselves were bearing witness to their displeasure. Despite their protests, the group had no choice but to continue on foot, leaving their ability to fly behind as they followed the Guardian's orders. With each passing minute, their complaints grew more fervent, and they questioned the Immortal Council's reasoning for enforcing such a demanding rule. Why are they even doing this? It's like they want to make our lives miserable. One of them shouted in frustration. As the young cultivators trudged on, their footsteps leaving deep imprints in the snow, their discontentment showed no signs of waning. Their voices echoed through the cold mountains, expressing their dissatisfaction with the Immortal Council's decision to ban flying in the region. It was clear that this new rule was not sitting well with them, and they were determined to make their displeasure known as they ventured towards the distant summit. Michael couldn't help but feel a connection between the sudden ban on flying and the immortals retrieving the Queen's crystal containing a piece of her soul. He knew there had to be some significance behind it, but the question remained, what were the immortals planning to do with the crystal? The memory of the dwarf's disastrous attempt to use a crystal containing the Queen's soul piece flashed in his mind, a grim reminder of the potential dangers involved. As Michael continued forward, he suddenly felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. The other cultivators also sensed the disturbance and came to a halt, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of danger. I think it's an avalanche, one of them cried out, fear evident in his voice. Find a cave or something quick, another cultivator urged, the panic spreading among the group. The cultivators, despite their magical abilities, knew better than to underestimate the treacherous power of the cold mountains. Even the strongest fusion stage cultivator could meet their demise in these icy peaks. The urgency in their movements increased as they searched for shelter, hoping to avoid the wrath of the impending avalanche and survive the harsh conditions of the cold mountains. In the midst of the chaos, Michael calmly activated his environmental scanning ability to locate a suitable cave. With a quick scan, he identified a sheltered cave nearby. Using the shadows as cover, he swiftly employed his shadow teleportation technique, disappearing from sight in the blink of an eye. In just a few blinks, he had effortlessly reached the safety of the cave, leaving the other cultivators unaware of his movements. Chapter 1047. A mighty dragon called the Snowstalker. As chaos and destruction reigned in the cold mountains, Michael found solace and safety inside a cave, biding his time for the opportune moment to continue his journey towards the summit where the Council of Immortals' headquarters lay. Amidst the howling winds and the relentless snowstorm, Michael's acute senses picked up a distinct roar, cutting through the cacophony. Reacting swiftly, he activated his environmental scanning map to locate the source of the disturbance. Outside the cave, a half-immortal being moved in a frenzied and disoriented manner, adding to the chaos of the storm. With heightened senses, Michael closed his eyes and focused on the sounds emanating from outside. He could hear distant shouts and a chilling scream, signaling the perilous situation of the cultivators caught in the avalanche. Curiosity getting the better of him, Michael ventured outside the safety of the cave. The moment he activated his X-ray eyes, his vision was enhanced, allowing him to see through the blizzard with ease. He noticed the thermal signatures of the cultivators desperately trying to flee the avalanche, their bodies emitting distinct heat patterns. But among them, something caught Michael's attention. An enormous thermal signature moving at a speed too fast for a normal cultivator and too large to be a human. The colossal presence amidst the storm sparked Michael's curiosity, and alerted him to the possibility of something powerful and dangerous lurking in the cold mountains. Interesting, Michael mumbled to himself as he quickly changed his robes to pure white, seamlessly blending in with the snowstorm. While everyone else was fleeing from the shaking avalanche, Michael walked confidently towards it. He had no fear of the puny avalanche since, in the eyes of onlookers, he appeared to be at the core-strengthening stage. Little did they know that in reality, he possessed the power of a celestial stage level 6 cultivator, as well as being a level 2 god. Floating above the knee-high snow, Michael effortlessly moved forward. But suddenly, as if someone had intervened, the storm ceased. The ground stopped trembling, and everything returned to a state of eerie calm, leaving everyone bewildered. The cultivators who had been desperately trying to save themselves now stood in shock, covered in snow. Meanwhile, the group of youngsters that Michael had noticed earlier stood their ground, armed with swords, bows, and spears, as though prepared to face an imminent threat. "Stop gawking at us. We have a snowstalker among us." The youngsters stood together, raising their voices and accusing someone of being a snowstalker. Michael furrowed his brows, as he had never heard of such a term before. However, he had sensed the presence of a half-immortal being and a powerful thermal signature just moments ago. Coupled with what the disciples were saying, Michael realized that there was something among them, something powerful and potentially dangerous. "Quickly, make fire!" One of the youngsters, a blonde-haired young man, urgently shouted at his friend. Without hesitation, his companion conjured a ball of golden-orange flames in his hand. However, before they could defend themselves, something massive, a colossal creature, swooped down from the snow-laden clouds above and snatched the young man with its giant claws. The cultivators and disciples were frozen in shock at the sight, but Michael quickly realized the gravity of the situation. A dragon! Michael was astonished to see a dragon among them. "Create fires if you want to survive," the disciples urged, impressing Michael with their knowledge of dealing with the dangerous creature. "What the heck was that thing? We can't possibly fight that beast." Panicked cries echoed from all directions as the cultivators, both young and old, were gripped by fear. Even the experienced cultivators looked pale and trembling in the presence of such a formidable opponent. But the group of youngsters, the ones who had earlier exhibited arrogance, remained resolute, showing no signs of backing down in the face of danger. The snowstalker hunts its prey by detecting the heat around your body. So if you don't make fire and divert its attention, we are all in trouble, the youngsters explained urgently. Their words snapped the cultivators out of their fear, and they quickly conjured fireballs, throwing them far away to create fiery distractions. Amidst the chaos, Michael heard a deafening roar, accompanied by a powerful gust of wind. Looking up, he saw a disturbance in the snow clouds, confirming his suspicion that the dragon, known as the Snowstalker, was on the move. The creature swooped down and snatched the burning snow where the fireballs had exploded, following the targets the cultivators had created. "Keep doing it until we reach a safe place," the youngsters instructed as they began to move forward. Michael's eyes locked with theirs, and he noticed a sly smile on the face of their leader, a golden-haired young man in his late 20s. "Sly bastards," Michael chuckled, amused by their clever trickery. The youngsters had effectively used the older cultivators' fear to their advantage, creating diversions for the dragon while they made their escape. "What are you up to?" Michael asked himself, puzzled by their presence in the cold mountains. Unlike the older cultivators who were often stuck at a bottleneck, these young cultivators showed no signs of restriction. All of them were at the core strengthening stage, a decent cultivation level for their age. Yet, they had chosen to venture into the cold mountains, a place where older cultivators seclude themselves in hopes of breaking through to the next stage or meeting their end. Michael couldn't help but wonder what their true intentions were, and why they had come to a place typically reserved for those seeking cultivation breakthroughs. If only Michael had the luxury of time, he would have followed the group of youngsters to uncover the reason behind their presence in the cold mountains. However, urgency fueled his actions, and he had a different plan in mind. Stepping away from the cultivators, Michael carefully observed the situation. As all eyes remained fixated on the skies, Michael swiftly lowered his hands, conjuring 2 lightning bolts that shot him upwards with incredible force. He defied the arrays and runes placed around the cold mountains, meant to hinder cultivators from flying. These restrictions were effective against those below the immortal stage, but Michael's power far surpassed that level, rendering the barriers ineffective against him. In a flash, he soared through the thick snow clouds and freezing air. Above the clouds, Michael finally beheld the imposing figure of the Snowstalker. The dragon's massive form cut through the swirling storm, a creature both fearsome and majestic. The colossal dragon, with its white scales gleaming like fresh snow, seemed to blend seamlessly with the wintry surroundings. Its majestic wings, spanning wide like a mountain range, flapped slowly, sending gusts of icy wind through the air. The creature's piercing blue eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity, radiating an aura of chilling power. As the dragon moved, the very air around it seemed to freeze, leaving a trail of frost in its wake. The cold emanating from its body was palpable, causing the surrounding temperature to drop significantly. The ground beneath the dragon's massive claws was covered in a layer of frost, and its breath appeared as misty plumes, giving a glimpse of the glacial power within. The dragon's presence was both awe-inspiring and intimidating, a living embodiment of the harsh and unforgiving nature of the cold mountains. Despite its imposing stature, the creature moved with an eerie grace, effortlessly navigating the treacherous terrain. Its appearance was a true reflection of the might and majesty of a creature revered in myths and legends, a being whose very existence demanded reverence and respect. With a sly smile on his face, Michael conjured a small ball of dark flames above his hands, the intense heat catching the attention of the colossal dragon. The creature's blue eyes locked onto Michael as it roared and swiftly changed its course, abandoning its pursuit of the cultivators on the ground to confront this new challenger. "Come closer, darling," Michael taunted, luring the dragon toward him. As the dragon closed in, jaws wide to devour him, Michael struck with lightning speed, delivering a powerful punch right to the dragon's face. The force of his blow sent the massive creature hurtling through the sky despite its immense size. In a daring move, Michael leaped into the air and landed squarely on the dragon's back, taking advantage of its momentary disorientation. Brandishing his dark sword, he drove the weapon deep into the dragon's scaly hide, causing the creature to roar in pain and unleash a frigid stream of ice breath from its mouth. Yet, Michael remained undeterred, tightly holding onto the hilt of the sword as he guided the dragon upwards. "We're going for a ride, baby," Michael declared with grim determination. Utilizing his godly strength and control over darkness, he steered the dragon upward, directing it straight toward the summit of Mount Galleon, where the Council of Immortals awaited. As Michael clung tightly to the dragon's back, the creature attempted to shake him off with frantic barrel rolls and vigorous body movements. But Michael's grip remained steadfast, and with his godly strength, he thwarted the dragon's efforts to dislodge him. As they ascended higher into the sky, the wind whipped against Michael's face, its cold sting contrasting with the heat of the dark flame surrounding him. The scene around him transformed as they climbed to greater heights. The storm clouds enveloped them, and the snow and hail battered against Michael's body. Despite the harsh conditions, he pressed on, his determination unwavering. Through the haze of the storm, he caught a glimpse of the peak of Mount Galleon in the distance, its snow-covered majesty rising above the clouds. The dragon's wings beat powerfully, carrying them closer to the summit, where the Council of Immortals resided. As they soared higher, the storm clouds gradually gave way to a serene, ethereal landscape. Michael found himself flying above the clouds, the world below obscured by a sea of white mist. The air became thinner, and the cold more biting, but he persisted, driven by his mission to retrieve the Queen's crystal. Amidst the clouds, he spotted a sight that stood out amidst the snowy expanse, a humble manor made of glistening marble stones. It seemed out of place in this secluded and frigid environment, yet its simplicity and elegance caught Michael's attention. The manor stood proudly, surrounded by an air of mystique and secrecy, like a hidden sanctuary atop the world. As the dragon let out a pained scream and stopped flying, Michael sensed that something within the manor was causing distress to the creature. He decided to release the dragon, knowing it had fulfilled its purpose in carrying him closer to the summit. Gently, he retrieved his dark sword from the dragon's back. Curiosity gnawed at Michael as he observed the dragon's behavior. It was as if the manor held some mysterious power that deterred the creature from getting any closer. Determined to find out what lay within, Michael chose not to press the dragon any further. Something intriguing must be happening in there, he mused to himself, deciding to let the dragon go. With a compassionate gesture, Michael retrieved a healing potion from his space ring and tossed it onto the dragon's wounded back. The potion shattered upon impact, its magic swiftly mending the dragon's injury. "Happy hunting," Michael patted the dragon, acknowledging its assistance. With a tap on his chest, his dark armor materialized and encased him from head to toe. His metallic wings unfurled, and with powerful flaps, he soared towards the mysterious Marble Manor, where he believed the Council of Immortals resided. "System, disable the security measures surrounding the manor and make me invisible to their detection," Michael requested with a calm demeanor as he hovered in the sky. With his impressive 80 million badass points, Michael exuded confidence in his ability to infiltrate any location. It will cost the host 1 million badass points. The security measures won't be permanently disabled, but a rune will be placed upon the host, rendering you undetectable by the manor's security measures. "That works too," Michael replied calmly, accepting the system's terms without hesitation. Chapter 1048 Gods are about to fight inside the elegant manor atop Mount Galleon. A group of 5 immortals stood around a polished round table, deep in serious discussion. The meeting hall exuded an aura of wisdom and power, with ancient tapestries adorning the walls, depicting the history of the immortals. The room was illuminated by mystical orbs of light, casting an ethereal glow over the place. Little did the immortals know that they were being closely observed by the Dark Lord's tiny spiders, magical creatures created by Michael to gather information discreetly. The first immortal was an elderly man with a long white beard that reached his chest. He wore an intricately embroidered robe with silver patterns, and his eyes shimmered with ancient knowledge. Next to him stood a stern-looking woman, her face etched with the wisdom of centuries. Her silver hair cascaded down her back, and she exuded an aura of power and authority. The third immortal was a man of regal bearing, adorned in royal purple robes with golden accents. His long gray hair was neatly tied back, and his sharp eyes were focused and calculating. Opposite him was another woman, her face lined with age and experience. Her dark eyes were sharp and observant, and she wore simple yet elegant robes of deep green, signifying her deep connection to nature. The fifth immortal was a man of quiet intensity, his eyes deep and soulful. His ash-gray hair fell to his shoulders, and he wore robes of deep blue, representing his affinity with the heavens. All 5 immortals looked serious and engrossed in their discussion, unaware of the tiny spiders discreetly observing their every move. Little did they know that the Dark Lord himself, disguised and undetectable, was about to make his move. As the immortals continued their discussion, their voices filled the meeting hall with a sense of urgency and concern. The first immortal, named Elder Arion, spoke with a deep frown. "I have never seen such an anomaly before. These immortals are unconscious, and their life forces are slowly withering away." The stern-looking woman, High Priestess Era, nodded in agreement. "Indeed, the crystal seems to be corrupting their souls more than we initially calculated. We must act swiftly to save them." The regal immortal, Lord Roderick, chimed in. "Perhaps we should inform the Sky Hall and seek help from our elders." This is beyond our expertise. The female immortal with a connection to nature, Lady Sylvana, added. Yes, their condition is deteriorating rapidly, and our efforts to purify the crystal are not enough. While the immortals debated their next course of action, Michael watched the scene unfold in the mirror held in his hand, floating above the manor. He sighed, realizing that the queen's crystal containing her piece of soul had indeed started to corrupt the immortals. He knew they were clueless about the true nature of the crystal. The tiny spiders continued to record the conversation, allowing Michael to gather valuable information. He knew that he had to act carefully and secretly to retrieve the crystal without arousing suspicion. As the immortals continued their heated discussion, Lady Sylvana stood her ground, her emerald eyes filled with determination. We cannot afford to keep the crystal any longer. Its corrupting influence will bring disaster upon us, she urged. However, Lord Roderick, with a gleam of ambition in his eyes, countered. You fail to see its potential. The crystal contains the power to elevate us all to the half-celestial stage. With such power, we could reshape the world. High Priestess Era added, We have spent centuries searching for a way to reach the half-celestial stage, and now it lies before us. We cannot let this opportunity slip away. Sylvana remained resolute. There are other paths to the half-celestial stage that do not involve such a tainted crystal. The Dark Lord himself managed to achieve that stage without the use of this corrupted artifact. If he could do it, so can we. Lord Roderick shook his head. You forget, we are not the Dark Lord. He is the god of darkness, and his powers are far beyond our comprehension. Undeterred, Sylvana pressed on, if we do not abandon the crystal, we will suffer the same fate as the Dark Lord in the end, regardless of whether we reach the half-celestial stage or not. Its corrupting influence will consume us all. The other immortals fell silent, considering Sylvana's words. The weight of their decision hung heavily in the air as they pondered the consequences of their actions. The allure of immense power was tempting, but the risk of succumbing to darkness loomed ominously. Unbeknownst to the immortals, the Dark Lord, Michael, remained concealed and observed their every move. The immortals discussed their plan to seek the Sky Hall's help, unaware that Michael's tiny spiders were capturing their conversation. I believe it's wise to inform the Sky Hall and seek their counsel, suggested Lord Roderick. The other immortals nodded in agreement, convinced that involving the elders of the Sky Hall was the best course of action. Yet, as they reached their decision, an unsettling shift filled the air. The light orbs in the hall flickered and sputtered, casting eerie shadows across the room. The immortals exchanged puzzled glances, unsure of the cause of this strange phenomenon. A peculiar scent lingered in the air, making them uneasy. Sensing something amiss, Immortal Sylvana reached out with her instincts and detected an unusual presence in their blood. A surge of fear washed over the immortals as they realized that they had been tainted by an unknown substance. Before they could react, the fear toxin that Michael had unleashed into the hall took hold of their bodies. Panic and dread surged through their veins, leaving them paralyzed with terror. In the midst of the chaos, the lights in the hall suddenly extinguished, enveloping them in complete darkness. The immortals' hearts pounded loudly in their chests as they struggled to see in the pitch-black surroundings. In the shrouded darkness, the immortals huddled together, their whispers filled with confusion and fear. One of them murmured, "This darkness. It's not ordinary. It feels malevolent." Another immortal, still trying to process the situation, hesitantly questioned, "Could this be the Dark Lord's doing?" Dismissing the doubt, one of the more seasoned immortals scoffed, "Nonsense. The Dark Lord met his end at the hands of Noah. Their attempts to conjure light by casting spells proved futile, as an inexplicable gust of wind continuously extinguished their feeble can't-be-him. Their attempts to conjure light by casting spells proved futile, as an inexplicable gust of wind continuously extinguished their feeble flames. Suddenly, a haunting rhyme echoed in the hall, the words sending a chill down their spines. Diddle. Diddle. Your lives are so little. The immortals exchanged alarmed glances, their hearts pounding with dread. They felt a sinister presence lurking in the darkness, taunting and toying with them. It was as though an invisible force was mocking their power and control. Fear gripped their souls as they struggled to maintain their composure. Each of them tried to suppress their growing panic, but the relentless darkness and the haunting rhyme played tricks on their minds. In their desperation, one of the immortals attempted to summon divine light, but the darkness seemed to devour even the brightest illumination. The more they tried to dispel it, The thicker it seemed to grow, as if the very shadows had come alive and encircled them. In the suffocating thickness of the darkness, the immortals were blinded, unable to see anything around them. They shouted out into the void, their voices trembling with fear, demanding to know who was behind this sinister manifestation. To their horror, a menacing devilish voice echoed back, chilling them to the bone. "You know the answer to your question," it hissed, sending shivers down their spines. One of the immortals, his voice quivering, mumbled, "Dark Lord." As the fear toxin continued to grip their hearts, the immortals became more and more petrified. The toxin amplified their fears, making the darkness even more terrifying, and the haunting voice that answered them felt like an embodiment of their deepest nightmares. In the midst of their terror, the Dark Lord's voice returned, cutting through the blackness with an eerie calmness. "Tell me," he demanded, "where did you put the crystal?" Their minds reeling, the immortals felt shocked beyond belief. They had witnessed the Dark Lord's supposed death at the hands of Noah, and now he stood before them, alive and with them, in the very hall where they had convened to discuss their concerns. The immensity of the revelation was too much for them to comprehend. Their immortal composure shattered, and they were reduced to mere mortals, shaken to their cores by the return of the Dark Lord. They could hardly believe their eyes and ears, and the fear toxin made them question the very fabric of reality. Was this an illusion, or had the Dark Lord truly come back from the dead? In the pitch-black darkness, the immortals stood paralyzed, not knowing how to respond to the unexpected and chilling presence of the Dark Lord. As Michael interrogated the immortals, a powerful aura suddenly appeared on his environmental scanning. Reacting swiftly to the change in the situation, Michael tapped into his innate power, connecting with the darkness within each immortal. In response, the immortals felt an intense pain in their chests, coughing and collapsing to the ground. With his dark swords unsheathed, Michael sprang into action, moving with deadly precision. In the pitch-black darkness of the hall, the only sounds that echoed were the chilling growls of the immortals. Michael swiftly ended their lives, cleaving their heads in a few blinks of an eye. Originally, he had planned to extract information about the crystal before eliminating them, but the unexpected appearance of another powerful being left him with no choice but to swiftly kill the immortals. Leaving no witnesses who had realized the Dark Lord was still alive became an imperative for Michael, even at the cost of ending their lives without mercy. After swiftly dispatching the immortals, Michael dispelled the darkness in the hall and moved to a corner where shadows lingered. Embracing his role as the god of darkness, he melded with the darkness, becoming one with it. With perfect harmony, he blended into the shadows, waiting for the powerful being detected in his environmental scanning to reveal itself before him. Chapter 1049 The overwhelming power of the Dark Lord. As Michael concealed himself in the darkness, a figure descended from the rooftop and landed beside the round table where the immortals once sat. It was none other than Evan. Shock was evident in his eyes as he saw the beheaded bodies of the immortals, and fear crept into his expression. What happened here?" Evan's voice trembled as he took in the horrifying scene. Michael couldn't help but smirk at Evan's reaction, noting the unstable energy radiating around him like a ticking time bomb. The last time they clashed, Michael had been at Godhood Level 1 and had to resort to using Victoria, Evan's fiancée, as a hostage to gain the upper hand. However, this time, Michael was at the Celestial stage with Godhood Level 2, making him more powerful than Evan. Despite them both being at Godhood Level 2, Michael's strength surpassed Evan's several times over. As Evan carefully inspected the lifeless bodies, he couldn't find any signs of struggle or evidence of the perpetrator. Unbeknownst to him, Michael remained hidden in the dark corner, a calculating smile playing on his lips. Meanwhile, Michael retrieved several powerful runic parchments from his storage, each designed by Eladir and acquired through the system store at the cost of 5 million badass points. With precision, he placed the parchments on the nearby wall, watching as the runes came to life, vibrating before melding into the stone. As the room remained shrouded in an eerie silence, Michael's neck cracked audibly as he prepared for his encounter with Evan once more. The sound echoed through the chamber, catching Evan's attention. His heart pounded in his chest, and his eyes widened in shock and fear when he saw the figure emerge from the darkness. The air around them felt charged with tension as Michael and Evan locked eyes. Evan couldn't believe what he was seeing. The Dark Lord, who he thought was dead, now stood before him, alive and more powerful than ever. Fear and disbelief washed over Evan as he faced the formidable enemy who he thought died. Terror gripped Evan's heart as he stammered, "Ghost. I go by the name Dark Lord now," Michael replied calmly, his voice sending chills down Evan's spine. With each step Michael took forward, Evan stumbled back, his fear intensifying. The combination of the fear toxin in the air and the shock of seeing the Dark Lord alive made Evan tremble uncontrollably. "You are dead." "No," Evan mumbled in disbelief. He vividly remembered witnessing Noah strike the Dark Lord with the god-killing arrows, leading to a fiery explosion. Unbeknownst to Evan, the 2 god-killing arrows Olivia gave to Noah during the final moments of the war were actually fakes. In a clever twist, Olivia had entrusted the real god-killing arrows to Michael. So when Noah struck Michael with the 5 original god-killing arrows and the 2 fakes, the genuine arrows remained inert. It was all part of Michael's elaborate plan to fake his death with a spectacular explosion and secure all the authentic god-killing arrows for himself. "I am indeed dead. I am just your deepest fear," Michael taunted, toying with Evan's emotions. For a moment, Evan felt convinced that the Dark Lord standing before him was a manifestation of his worst nightmares. "No!" Suddenly, Evan shook his head vigorously, as if trying to break free from the grip of fear. Summoning his courage, he lunged at Michael, aiming a desperate punch at his face. But just as his fist approached Michael, it was caught mid-air by the Dark Lord, who wore an unsettling smile. "I am indeed dead. I am just your deepest fear," Michael taunted, playing with Evan's emotions. For a brief moment, Evan's mind succumbed to the idea that the Dark Lord was nothing more than a manifestation of his worst nightmares. "No!" Suddenly, Evan shook his head vigorously, as if trying to shake off the fear that had consumed him. Summoning every ounce of his courage, he lunged at Michael and threw a furious punch towards his face. But before the blow could land, Michael effortlessly caught Evan's fist, flashing a twisted smile. "Evan, did you miss me?" Michael's chilling words echoed in Evan's mind, reminding him of the horrific scene where the Dark Queen had forced Victoria to drink the blood tonic against her will. Although Michael had no intention of fighting Evan seriously, he couldn't resist testing his newfound powers, using Evan as a mere practice dummy to display his strength. "You cannot be alive. I saw you explode into bloody mist," Evan growled, still struggling to accept that the Dark Lord stood before him, very much alive. "Don't believe everything you see and hear, Evan," Michael retorted. With a swift and powerful punch, he struck Evan right in the chest, sending him hurtling through the air until he collided with the wall. The fear toxin coursing through Evan's veins slowly began to lose its grip as anger and the pain of losing Victoria overwhelmed him. 2 weeks after the Dark Lord's supposed defeat, Victoria had traveled to meet her family on the R continent after her encounter with Celici. Tragedy had struck as she was ambushed and slain by a bone dragon. Since then, Evan had been relentlessly tracking down the bone dragon's origins, leading him to the Immortal Council's headquarters atop Mount Galleon. The connection between Victoria's death and the council heightened Evan's fury and determination. "What do you think?" Michael sneered, his taunting words further provoking Evan's anger. Unbeknownst to Evan, the tragic death of Victoria was not the doing of the Dark Queen or the Dark Lord, but rather a manipulative scheme orchestrated by Saelsis' death squad. Read Chapter 1024. When Celici saw the devastation in Victoria's house following the Dark Queen's visit, she cunningly devised a plan to exploit Evan's emotions. Believing that the Dark Queen had harmed Victoria and would use her life as leverage, Celici ordered her death squad member, Stormwing, to stage Victoria's death as an accident. As per Saelsis' orders, Stormwing led the Bone Dragon, which had previously escaped from the Immortal Council, to Victoria's location, orchestrating the fatal encounter. When Evan arrived, all he found was a pool of blood and the heartbreaking sight of Victoria's severed wrist, spared by the jaws of the vicious creature. Consumed by overwhelming grief and seething with fury, Evan's heart was now consumed by the pursuit of vengeance. In his anguish, he became a relentless hunter, relentlessly tracking the bone dragon with a determination bordering on madness. As Michael snickered arrogantly, Evan's grief and anger reached its breaking point, firmly convinced that the Dark Lord was responsible for Victoria's tragic death. Blinded by his emotions, he didn't even consider the possibility that someone else might be behind the horrifying act. Fate, it seemed, had brought Evan face to face with the one he believed had taken everything from him. "Bastard!" Evan's anguished scream tore through the air as he lunged at Michael once more. His fists flew like a wild storm, driven by the madness of loss and despair. But Michael was no ordinary opponent. He deftly evaded every punch and kick with ease, his movements fluid and precise. With the help of the powerful runes, the mountain concealed their battle from prying eyes, forming an illusion that shielded them from the outside world. But even within the illusion, Evan's fury and desperation were palpable. As Evan's relentless assault continued, Michael sensed that his opponent had yet to unleash his true power. Tauntingly, Michael questioned Evan's choice of fists over spells and godly abilities. "Is this how you fight a man who killed your love?" Michael sneered, blocking Evan's punch effortlessly and retaliating with a deadly black bolt of lightning. The powerful surge of energy sent Evan hurtling through the air once again, a painful reminder of the one-sided nature of their battle. As Evan's desperation escalated, he channeled all his power into a grand display of spells. The air crackled with energy as he unleashed overwhelming forces, causing the hall to tremble and the very ground beneath them to quake. First, Evan conjured a tempest of swirling winds that tore through the hall, shattering the marble walls and tossing debris into the air like deadly projectiles. The winds howled with fury, threatening to consume everything in their path. Next, he summoned celestial flames that burned with an intensity beyond imagination. The flames danced and twirled, creating a fiery inferno that threatened to consume the entire space. But as Evan's onslaught continued, Michael calmly raised his hand and an energy shield dome formed around him. The responsive shield, a testament to his newfound power as a level 2 god, grew in size and strength. The shield expanded, encompassing the entire hall, and its luminescent glow intensified, emanating an aura of invincibility. The clash of their powers was a spectacle to behold. Evan's spells collided with the resilient energy dome, but they failed to penetrate its formidable defense. The swirling winds and raging flames struck the dome, only to be dispersed harmlessly around Michael. With each failed attempt, Evan's frustration grew, and he unleashed even more potent spells. He tried to bring down the energy dome with bolts of celestial lightning and torrents of freezing ice, but nothing could breach the shield's impenetrable barrier. Meanwhile, Michael remained composed, his eyes cold and calculating as he analyzed Evan's every move. His dark armor glimmered, absorbing the impact of Evan's attacks effortlessly. As the battle raged on, it became apparent that Evan's rage had clouded his judgment. Michael's mastery of darkness and his strategic use of the responsive shield gave him an undeniable advantage. With each futile attempt, Evan's confidence waned, and the reality of facing a truly living Dark Lord began to sink in. The power of Michael's responsive shield astonished even him. As Evan's relentless spells crashed against the shield, it absorbed nearly 90% of their destructive force, leaving Michael unharmed behind his dark armor. The hall became coated in a layer of frost from Evan's icy spells, but it seemed to have little effect on the Dark Lord. The runes Michael had placed earlier concealed the battle from outside detection, ensuring that no one would interfere or sense the immense clash between the two gods. Evan, infused with powers beyond his own, tried desperately to match Michael's might, but it was clear that he was nowhere close to being a true god like Michael. In this confrontation, Michael realized that only the true gods from the realm of gods could stand a chance against him and pose a real challenge, especially those who were at or above the level 3 godhood. Evan's power, gained by grace that was not his own, proved inadequate against the might of the Dark Lord. As the battle continued, Michael's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with Evan's growing frustration and desperation. Each strike from Evan's spells was effortlessly countered by the responsive shield, leaving Evan feeling powerless in the face of such overwhelming darkness. "My turn." With a sinister smirk, Michael's hands crackled with power as he raised them, preparing to unleash his own devastating spells. From his palms, sharp wind blades surged forth, slicing through the air with deadly precision. Accompanying the wind blades, bolts of dark lightning erupted, crackling and searing through the atmosphere. But that was not all. The very air above Evan seemed to obey Michael's command, as more lightning bolts materialized from thin air, raining down with electrifying force. As if the spectacle wasn't enough, a ring of dark flames erupted from Michael's body, encircling him in a blazing inferno. The flames were no ordinary fire. They were infused with dark flames, consuming everything in their path with unrelenting fury. The force of the spells was overwhelming, creating an awe-inspiring display: the deadly onslaught of wind blades, lightning bolts and infernal flames. Desperation and fear etched across his face, but there was a raw power that left the entire hall trembling. Evan's eyes widened in horror as he found himself surrounded by the deadly onslaught of wind blades, lightning bolts and infernal flames. Desperation and fear etched across his face, but there was nowhere to run. He was trapped within the swirling tempest of Michael's wrath. The wind blades tore through anything they touched, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The dark lightning bolts crackled with energy, striking Evan from all directions, filling the air with blinding flashes of light. Meanwhile, the ring of dark flames incinerated everything in its path, leaving nothing but ashes in its wake. The hall that was once a symbol of power and authority now lay in ruins, torn asunder by the force of Michael's spells. The walls crumbled, and the elegant decorations were reduced to mere debris. The once grand and dignified space was now a scene of chaos and devastation, a testament to the unmatched power of the Dark Lord. As the dust settled and the echoes of the spells faded away, Evan lay defeated amidst the ruins of the hall. His body was battered and broken, and his spirit was crushed by the overwhelming might of the Dark Lord. Michael stood tall amidst the destruction, his dark armor glistening with power, a silent but formidable force that had left Evan utterly powerless. Chapter 1050. Outsmarting Celici in every way. Several days before the battle between Evan and Michael, the journey from our continent to Elon was incredibly vast, spanning a great distance that took many cultivators several days to traverse. Most preferred to use teleportation portals to shorten the trip, but Victoria instead decided to embark on a long flight lasting several days. She wanted to enjoy the breathtaking sights along the way before eventually arriving at Sales's safe house in the Cassidian forest. From there, she planned to use a teleportation portal to reach her final destination. As evening descended, the sky transformed into a magnificent canvas adorned with twinkling stars, shining brightly like precious jewels. 3 large luminous blue moons hung gracefully in the sky, casting a gentle glow over the world below. Victoria soared through the air as she flew above a vast and majestic canyon. The walls of the canyon were towering and rugged, displaying a breathtaking blend of red and orange hues as the setting sun painted them with its warm rays. Moving swiftly, Victoria left the canyon behind and approached the emerald-green Cassidian forest. The forest welcomed her with open arms, its giant trees stretching high into the sky. The canopy above was a kaleidoscope of lush foliage, forming a natural roof that filtered the soft sunlight and created a soothing dappled effect on the forest floor. The spacious ground between the trees was a haven of vibrant life. Soft, green grass carpeted the forest floor, adorned with colorful wildflowers that added a touch of beauty to the landscape. The air was filled with the sweet scent of nature, and the forest seemed to sing with the harmony of chirping birds and gentle rustling leaves. It was a place of peace and serenity where Victoria could find solace and comfort amidst the wonders of nature. Unbeknownst to Victoria, she was being closely trailed by 2 individuals. One of them was a mysterious figure shrouded in black robes, with the upper body of an eagle, revealing him to be a beastman. This enigmatic figure was none other than Stormwing, a deadly member of Sales's death squad. Stormwing had been tasked by Celici with a sinister mission, to assassinate Victoria and make it appear as if her death was a mere accident. To accomplish his dark purpose, Stormwing carried a pouch filled with a potent alchemical substance, a gray powder specifically used to lure a bone dragon. The very same bone dragon that had seemingly escaped the Immortal Council's control. Meanwhile, unknown to both Stormwing and Victoria, a silent and watchful presence trailed them from the shadows. It was Michael, who had been tracking their movements with great caution. Michael was well aware of Sales's intentions, and he had anticipated her every move. When he had asked Gaia to leave Victoria's home, he knew it would lead Celici to make a dangerous assumption, that the Dark Lord would use Victoria's life to manipulate Evan. Michael's keen insights and meticulous planning had successfully lured Celici into his trap. Now, as he followed Victoria and Stormwing, he waited for the perfect moment to intervene and thwart Sales's wicked plot. From the vantage point of a massive tree, Michael observed Victoria setting up her camp for the night. He remained silent and concealed, hidden within the dense foliage of the tree. As he watched her, Victoria's words drifted up to him. She expressed relief that the Dark Lord's reign of terror was finally over. "I never felt like this in months. Glad everything is over with the Dark Lord," Victoria murmured softly to herself. She swiftly prepared her camp, changing into more comfortable clothes. Respectful of her privacy, Michael looked away, refusing to invade her personal space. With her camp arranged, Victoria conjured a gentle spell to ignite a warm campfire. Seating herself before the crackling flames, she placed her long sword by her side and closed her eyes, entering a state of peaceful cultivation. Unbeknownst to her, Stormwing was silently descending from the skies, landing on a distant branch, unaware that every movement he made was being meticulously observed by the Dark Lord. As Stormwing approached, he carried a handful of bone dragon bait, a potent substance used to attract the deadly creature. With a subtle movement, Stormwing released the gray powder into the air, allowing it to disperse around Victoria's camp. The bait had no discernible scent, ensuring that Victoria remained unaware of the impending danger that lurked in the air. "My job here is done." With a sly grin concealed beneath his hood, Stormwing believed his task was complete. He swiftly departed from the forest, cautious not to be caught between the bone dragon and Victoria. Fully aware of Victoria's limited cultivation at the core strengthening stage, Stormwing knew she would be defenseless against a formidable fusion stage bone dragon. From his hidden perch, Michael kept a keen eye on Stormwing's every move, his mind racing with calculations and strategies. Moments after Stormwing's departure, a distant rumble echoed through the forest, catching Michael's attention. He knew that such a sound was impossible, for the sky above was clear and devoid of any storm clouds. Recognizing the peculiar noise as the bone dragon's thunderous wings, Michael understood that the powerful and deranged creature was heading straight for Victoria's location. Unaware of the imminent danger, Victoria continued her peaceful cultivation on the ground. The tranquility around her soon gave way to an eerie darkness as the colossal creature approached, its monstrous form casting an ominous shadow on the forest floor. The trees quivered violently in response to the bone dragon's immense power. Suddenly, Victoria's eyes snapped open, a surge of instinctive alertness coursing through her. She sensed a formidable presence nearby, a feeling of danger that sent shivers down her spine. However, she was unable to detect Michael, the Dark Lord, as he skillfully concealed himself within the darkness, a master of blending in and remaining hidden. As the bone dragon drew nearer, the ground trembled under its immense weight, and the air seemed to grow colder, carrying the scent of danger that Victoria couldn't ignore. Little did she know that this creature had been driven to madness after being imprisoned for decades, and it was now on a destructive path, seeking to unleash its fury upon any living being it encountered. Michael silently observed the scene as the bone dragon descended through the thick canopy, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake, much like a raging storm. Its skeletal form, devoid of flesh, gave it an eerie and sinister appearance. With its crimson-red eyes emanating a palpable killing intent, the dragon's immense size instilled fear in Victoria's heart. The bone dragon's eyes locked onto Victoria, alive and breathing human, and its roars echoed through the forest, shaking the very ground beneath them. The dragon's hatred for humans, stemming from its long captivity, fueled its aggression upon seeing Victoria. It lunged at her with a ferocious snap, aiming to devour her in a single gulp. Victoria's instincts kicked in, and she swiftly evaded the bone dragon's massive jaw, narrowly escaping its deadly bite. Panic surged within her as she realized her sword was left behind at the now extinguished campfire. With each step the dragon took, the forest around them crumbled, uprooting trees like mere twigs. Desperate to defend herself, Victoria tried to cast spells, but before she could muster enough energy, the bone dragon's bone claws struck her with devastating force. She was sent hurtling through the shattered trees, leaving her body battered and bleeding. In agony, Victoria coughed up blood, her dress torn and covered in mud. Her leg and arms broken from a single strike, Victoria reached for her space ring that had fallen off her finger during the fall. Crawling backward, she sought her only hope of survival, a teleportation scroll within the space ring. However, the bone dragon was relentless, closing in with each thunderous step. Fighting back tears, Victoria clutched a broken branch with her good hand, trying to stand despite her injuries. "I am sorry, Evan." In the midst of pain and despair, she whispered an apology to Evan, reflecting on the cruel twists of fate that had led her to this dire moment. "Come on, you ugly son of a bitch!" Victoria roared in defiance, refusing to yield without a fight. Though facing a seemingly insurmountable foe, she refused to give up her will to survive. The bone dragon sensed Victoria's fear and reveled in her suffering, enjoying the taste of vengeance against humans. As it advanced towards her, she clenched her fists, ready to face her doom with courage, despite knowing she stood no chance against the colossal beast. Just as the dragon's jaws were about to close around her, a sudden figure appeared, landing boldly between Victoria and the monstrous creature. It was Michael, the Dark Lord himself. His calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaotic situation. "Ever heard of mouthwash?" Michael taunted the dragon before delivering a powerful punch that sent the creature tumbling to the ground. Victoria's eyes widened in shock and terror, unable to comprehend the sight before her. She had believed the Dark Lord to be dead, but here he stood, very much alive and powerful as ever. "Let me take care of this bug," Michael declared with a confident smile, assuring Victoria that he had everything under control. Before she could react, he raised his hand, releasing a knockout potion that quickly overwhelmed her senses. Victoria collapsed to the ground, her fears and worries momentarily subdued by the potion's effects. After gently knocking out Victoria to ensure she remained safe, Michael turned his attention to the suffering bone dragon. He could sense the deep scars of torture etched into its very being, which ignited a spark of empathy within him. Determined to end the dragon's torment, Michael chose to end its life swiftly and mercifully. With a solemn expression, Michael leaped onto the dragon's bone head, looking into its crimson eyes filled with hatred and pain. He understood the dragon's history of suffering at the hands of each side of the dragon's face. In an instant, a connection formed between them, and they locked eyes. Michael's immense power humans, and he didn't wish to cause it any more pain than it had already endured. Summoning the Soul Eater skill, Michael placed his hands gently on each side of the dragon's face. In an instant, a connection formed between them, and they locked eyes. Michael's immense power overwhelmed the dragon's feeble resistance, allowing him to absorb its soul without inflicting further harm. As the process unfolded, a faint white wisp of smoke emerged from the depths of the dragon's eyes, gracefully coiling into Michael. It was a poignant moment, witnessing the dragon's pain slowly dissipate, and its soul finding peace in the embrace of the Dark Lord's power. Michael's expression softened, as he knew he had granted the creature a final release from its suffering. "Now it's time to turn Evan against Celici," Michael said with a sinister smile, his mind already plotting the perfect revenge. Little did Celici know that Michael had outsmarted her, recording the conversation she had with Stormwing about assassinating Victoria. Despite Sales's protective artifact, Michael ingeniously devised a long-range camera using arch-energy crystals and Elidar's runes to bypass her defenses. The camera captured every damning word, and Michael stored the evidence in a recording crystal, a commonplace item in this world. With Victoria now safe from the assassination attempt, Michael held the key to exposing Sales's deceitful scheme. He felt a sense of triumph, knowing that with this recording, he could easily turn Evan against Celici and make her pay for her crossing paths with him. The thought of watching Sales's downfall brought a wicked glint to Michael's eyes as he reveled in his cleverness. Chapter 1051 Turning Evan against Celici. Inside the cozy wooden cabin nestled deep within the forest, Michael stood before Evan and Victoria. They were seated in chairs facing a large mirror that Michael had conjured for this moment. He wanted to reveal Sales's treachery to the couple and make them understand the truth. With a determined look in his eyes, Michael took a step forward and raised his hand, gently spraying a potion onto their faces. As the potion touched their skin, Evan and Victoria's eyelids fluttered, and they slowly regained consciousness. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves in a dimly lit cabin, the sound of heavy rain echoing outside. Their memories of the events before losing consciousness flooded back, but they didn't focus on each other just yet. Their attention was fixed on the enigmatic figure before them, the Dark Lord himself. A mix of fear and curiosity washed over them, but Michael's soothing words and a calming potion diffused their initial anxiety. "Turn your heads to the side," Michael calmly instructed. Evan complied first, turning his head to the side, and what he saw sent shivers down his spine. There, gazing at him with tears streaming down her cheeks, was Victoria. It had been several long days since they had seen each other, but for Victoria, it felt like only a few moments had passed since her encounter with the bone dragon. Unbeknownst to her, Michael had kept her unconscious while Evan sought his revenge on the dragon that had taken her life. The emotions in that moment were overwhelming, a mix of relief, love, and sorrow. To Evan's utter shock, Victoria was alive and well. Overwhelmed with joy and disbelief, he lunged at her, accidentally tripping over the chair she was sitting on. Ignoring their surroundings, the couple embraced tightly, tears of relief and happiness streaming down their cheeks. Michael watched the emotional reunion from the sidelines, allowing them the moment they deserved. "I thought you were dead," Evan said, holding Victoria as if he would never let her go. "Evan," Victoria choked out through her tears, her heart overflowing with emotions. "The dragon. How did you?" "I saw your wrist." Evan's words trembled with a memory of the horrifying scene he had witnessed. He vividly recalled finding a wrist with the engagement ring covered in blood in the forest. Unbeknownst to him, Michael had orchestrated the ruse by placing the ring on a severed undead wrist and leaving it at the scene. Suddenly, Evan released Victoria from his embrace and examined her arms, only to find no engagement ring on her finger. Victoria, too, was baffled by its absence, as she had no memory of losing the ring. Unbeknownst to them, it was Michael who had removed the ring after knocking her out. It was only then that they both turned their attention to the Dark Lord, who had been silently observing them. "Are you finished reuniting and ready to learn who sent a dragon after Victoria?" Michael asked Evan and Victoria, his calm demeanor contrasting with the whirlwind of emotions surrounding them. "How are you still alive?" Evan asked in complete shock, unable to fathom how the Dark Lord stood before them unscathed. Victoria was equally speechless, her mind struggling to process the impossible reality. Although Michael had concealed his true power, both Evan and Victoria could sense that he had reached a realm beyond any mortal's capabilities. "You must have called the dragon and pretended to save me," Victoria finally spoke, her voice tinged with suspicion and disbelief. "Can you, for once, use your brain?" Michael rolled his eyes, a hint of annoyance in his tone. With a wave of his hand, Evan and Victoria's bodies jerked involuntarily, their fear growing. As Michael waved his hand, the mirror behind him flickered to life, revealing a scene. Evan and Victoria saw Celici, accompanied by a figure dressed in black robes, hovering in the wind. The scene slowly moved to a grand manner with soldiers lying unconscious on the surrounding grounds. To Victoria's surprise, she immediately recognized the manner as her own and furrowed her brow in confusion and concern. "Evan has been compromised," Sales's voice echoed through the scene in the mirror, and Evan listened intently, his heart racing. "My lady, how would you like me to handle Evan?" "It poses a challenge since you have elevated him to the status of a god," responded the cloaked figure floating beside Celici, who Evan now recognized as Stormwing. "You are mistaken, Stormwing. The god-killing arrows, even if retrieved by Noah, can only slay either him or the Dark Lord. They are single-use weapons, unable to be replicated or merged into a new form. Once the Dark Lord perishes, the arrows themselves will cease to exist," Celici explained, her voice calculated and composed. "Then how do you propose we handle Evan, my lady?" "The longer we allow Evan to roam freely, the greater the potential damage he can inflict upon our entire operation," Stormwing inquired, concern lacing his voice. "If Evan has indeed struck a deal with the Dark Lord, his actions will undoubtedly revolve around the life of Victoria. The Dark Lord will undoubtedly use Victoria as a pawn to manipulate Evan into carrying out his bidding. However, if we eliminate this pawn, Victoria, the Dark Lord's hold over Evan will crumble. Evan is a valuable asset that we cannot afford to let slip away," Celici explained, her tone firm and resolute. Evan's and Victoria's minds went blank with shock and confusion as they listened to Sales's ruthless plan. Michael couldn't help but grin, seeing the emotions play across their faces. Celici intended to turn Evan into a weapon against the Dark Lord, but little did she know that Michael was now turning Evan against her. "Eliminate Victoria, Stormwing. Make it appear as though her death is accidental. If the Dark Lord truly struck a deal with Evan, we cannot orchestrate her demise to make it seem like the Dark Lord was responsible. It would raise suspicions, and Evan might grow wary. However, if her death appears to be an unfortunate accident, the Dark Lord will lose his hold over Evan. This will enable Evan to focus his energies on defeating the Dark Lord's army, without the distraction of his fiancée. I can channel his grief and anger towards our advantage," Sales's cold and calculating voice echoed through the cabin. The pain of betrayal slowly dug deeper into Evan's heart as he clenched his fist. He had served and believed in Celici, thinking she was a strong and benevolent leader, only to be proven wrong. The revelation showed Evan that Celici was not the leader he thought she was but a vengeful snake. "Is that so?" Michael snickered, his eyes narrowing as he focused on the image of Stormwing. For a brief moment Stormwing's cloak. "No, this must be trickery." Victoria shouted in disbelief, unable to accept the shocking truth. "Is that so?" Michael snickered, his eyes narrowing as he focused on the image of Stormwing. For a brief moment, Stormwing's cloak moved, revealing a glimpse of his upper body, and Michael's instincts picked up on a crucial detail. With another wave of his hand, Michael changed the scene in the mirror once again. This time, he showed Stormwing standing atop a tree branch, pouring a gray powder into the air. As the scene unfolded, Victoria's memories came rushing back. She recalled the events of the campsite, the peaceful cultivation, and the sudden ambush by the bone dragon. "What he scattered in the wind is a powerful substance that lured the bone dragon to your place," Michael explained calmly. "Lady Celici. She cannot." Victoria's voice trailed off, unable to comprehend the depth of Sales's betrayal. Michael understood her confusion, knowing how skilled Celici was at manipulation. Blaming the Dark Lord and painting him as the villain was a tactic that easily deceived people, even those like Victoria who believed in her cause. As silence enveloped them, Michael allowed Victoria and Evan to process the shocking revelation. "I have seen him." Evan finally broke the silence. "I saw him once," he continued, recalling a day when he entered Sales's meeting hall and saw a figure leaving through a window. Although Celici dismissed it as one of her spies, Evan had caught a glimpse of an eagle-faced man, just like the one the Dark Lord had shown them. "You and the whole world believed I was evil. You said I am evil when I destroyed Wuxia. You said I'm evil when I fought Nagaland. But you never bothered to ask why." Michael's voice was cold and powerful, sending shivers down Evan and Victoria's spines. They were left speechless, unable to trust anyone anymore, as the truth of Sales's betrayal sank in. Evan's mind replayed Sales's words about fighting the Dark Lord's minions and making Victoria proud, only now realizing it was all a manipulative ploy. "Think about this. She could have called off the assassination because the whole world saw me dying, including Celici. Yet, she proceeded with a hit, just to manipulate and use you," Michael revealed, exposing Sales's deceit. But there was more shocking news to come. Michael revealed that the powers Celici had given Evan were killing him. Evan wasn't born as a god, yet Celici had somehow infused his body with a grace that was now rejecting him. "The grave is rejecting you. It's only a matter of time before your soul explodes into nothingness," Michael stated, leaving Victoria in panic and her heart aching for Evan's fate. Evan was stunned, unable to dismiss the acute pain and energy radiation surrounding him. The reality of his body rejecting the grace Celici had given him was hard to ignore. He knew the Dark Lord wasn't lying to him. His words resonated with Evan's own experiences. "If you don't believe me, you are welcome to leave this place. But when you explode, you will take out everyone around you," Michael warned Evan. Victoria, on the other hand, was hesitant to trust Michael completely. She questioned his intentions, fearing that he might be manipulating them for his own gains. "So how do we know we can trust anything you say? What if you are just manipulating us?" Victoria questioned. "He is not," Evan answered Victoria. "I feel something wrong with me. I asked Celici, but she said it was nothing. But I can feel the grace is rejecting my body," when Evan explained. Victoria instinctively grabbed Evan's hand and shivered at the thought of losing him. "Whether you choose to believe me or not, I am the only one who can save you and reveal the truth of what's really happening. I am not your enemy, Evan. In fact, neither you nor the world truly understands the impending terror that awaits us," Michael asserted. His voice was filled with conviction, and he looked directly into Evan's eyes, trying to convey the urgency of the situation. Chapter 1052. Evan is now Michael's ally. As the life-changing truth sank in, Evan and Victoria's expressions shifted from disbelief to contemplation. Victoria's animosity towards the Dark Lord began to wane after learning about Sales's betrayal, and she found herself torn between trust and skepticism. Feeling lost and uncertain, they both turned to Michael for more answers. "Before blindly trusting anyone, always seek the full truth and know both sides of the story," Michael advised them, his tone earnest. Intrigued, Evan finally mustered the courage to ask the Dark Lord about his own story. He wanted to understand the motivations behind the infamous figure known as the Dark Lord. The whole perception of the Dark Lord being evil began with a prophecy by Qin Jiu, one of the Mazeroth founders. That prophecy set off a chain of events that led us to this moment. However, Qin Jiu or the Sky Hall never revealed the true intentions of the realm of gods, Michael explained. "And what are their intentions?" Victoria inquired. "To make mortals their unquestioning worshippers. They seek absolute control and will eliminate any resistance to achieve that goal. Essentially, they desire to enslave humanity," Michael replied. "Slavery," Evan muttered, trying to process the shocking revelation. "Yes, exactly. 5,000 years ago, I erected a barrier between the mortal realm and the realm of gods to prevent the entire world from falling under their control," Michael revealed, leaving Evan and Victoria stunned. Victoria's astonishment was evident as she processed the information. 5,000 years old? That's impossible. Michael chuckled. "Not exactly. The one who created the barrier was me, but that was before I reset the entire universe. I know it's hard to believe, but it's the truth." Evan and Victoria exchanged bewildered glances, struggling to wrap their minds around the revelation. Michael's frustration was palpable as he expressed his irritation with their tendency to blindly follow Sales's narrative without questioning her motives. Don't mistake this as an attempt to recruit you. Evan, your condition makes you a ticking time bomb, and I already have stronger subordinates than you, Victoria. I have no use for either of you, Michael clarified, wanting to set their expectations straight. But I'm doing this because, whether you like it or not, I've known both of you since I arrived in River Town. I hate seeing you manipulated by that bitch, he added, genuine concern underlying his words. Evan's curiosity got the better of him, and he couldn't help but ask, "What do you want from us?" To his surprise, Michael's response was cold and calculated. "Nothing. As I said, you are free to leave, but I advise the two of you against revealing that I'm alive. If you do, I won't simply fake my death. I'll unleash every bit of my power. You can only imagine the consequences that would follow. I may be on the side of good, but I am not a saint. If someone threatens my life, I will go all out, prioritizing my well-being." Michael knew that Evan and Victoria wouldn't easily leave the cabin without falling into his plan. He wanted to give them the truth and offer them a choice, rather than manipulating them completely. Though he had his own battles to fight, he hoped that they would stay out of his way and keep the world in peace until he was ready to settle down with Nithroel ruling the world. But if Noah and his allies stood against him at that time, he would not hesitate to face them head-on, even if it meant taking their lives for real. "I want to have a long talk with Salisi." Evan clenched his fist, his sadness and pain replaced by a fiery fury. "Killing her won't solve anything, Evan. If we take out one Salisi, another will rise to take her place. We need to figure out who is truly behind all of this because there's always a bigger threat lurking in the shadows," Michael explained. "So, I should just let her go and pretend nothing happened?" Evan growled. "Yes," Michael nodded. "Let the world believe Victoria died, just like they believe I'm dead. I'll keep her safe while you stay close to Salisi. But remember, don't pick sides until you know the truth. When you're with her, observe how she manipulates everyone around her. Use your brain, Evan. Deep down, you know it's the right choice," said Michael. For a few moments, Evan and Victoria contemplated Michael's words. Finally, Victoria broke the silence in the room. "I want him safe. If what you said about his grave rejecting his body is true, I demand a cure for him," Victoria asserted firmly, showing her determination. "I'm heading somewhere next, where I might find a cure for him." "You have my word that I will do everything in my power to fix him," Michael responded, his tone filled with confidence, which strangely brought a sense of reassurance to Victoria. Then, with a swift motion of his hand, Michael produced a golden parchment and tossed it towards Evan and Victoria. "Keep these scrolls safe. They are teleportation scrolls. They will sense if you are in mortal danger and transport you to a safe location," Michael explained, making sure they understood the importance of the scrolls. Both Evan and Victoria nodded, grateful for the aid Michael offered, despite their complicated feelings towards him. After Evan and Victoria left the cabin, Vidora appeared through a teleportation portal. "Everything is ready. I've been monitoring the Council of Immortals, and they are heading towards the mountains. We need to go now if we want to secure the crystal," Iag informed Michael. Before leaving Mount Galleon, Michael had asked Vidora to keep a close eye on the Immortals. The destruction and loss of their fellow Immortals had sent them into a panic, and they decided to protect the crystal that held a piece of the Queen's soul. "Do you believe Evan will work with us now?" Sarba inquired as Michael prepared to head back to the Immortal Council. "He will," Michael replied with confidence. "We'll have a spy deep within the heart of our enemy's ranks," Iag chuckled in delight. "Salisi is not my enemy. I could kill her any time I want. But I want to learn more about Andor and see if he truly controls Salisi. Someone is pulling her strings, and I need to know who it is before taking action. With Salisi believing him dead, she will soon make a mistake, and Evan will be there to exploit it and give us the information we need," Michael explained. Kane nodded in agreement with Michael's plan. Then, Vidroa leaped onto Michael's shoulder as he teleported himself near Mount Galleon using his runic teleportation. Once he appeared at the freezing cold mountaintop, Michael flew above the manor, scanning the area for any sign of the Immortals. Soon, he spotted them, carefully making their way down the mountain using a narrow pathway. "There they are," Iag whispered into Michael's ear. Hovering above the sky, Michael observed the Immortals as they arrived at a wall of snow on the mountain. To his surprise, they placed their hands on the wall, causing the mountain to tremble slightly. The ice wall opened, revealing a hidden cave entrance. Before Michael could follow them, the wall closed, trapping the immortals inside. Unaffected by the strange energy barrier around the mountain, Michael calmly floated towards the ice wall, bypassing the narrow pathway. When he arrived at the wall, Michael placed his hand on it and called upon the system. "System, open this wall for me," Michael calmly requested. With 300,000 badass coins from Michael, the system surpassed the runes on the wall, allowing Michael to enter the cave. The inside of the cave was illuminated by a soft blue glow, eliminating the need for a light source. Following the footprints left by the immortals, Michael reached the end of the cave where he saw several old men and women dressed in pure white robes standing around a mysterious black crystal. Michael noticed a dark wisp of smoke emanating from the black crystal and entering the heads of the immortals. They stood around in a trance-like state, their gazes fixed on the ice ceiling. "Kill those fools and bring back the crystal to the demon's grave." Michael suddenly heard the voice of the queen in his head, causing a jolt in his body. "How does she keep invading my thoughts?" Michael wondered, feeling perplexed and ready to take action against the immortals. Soon, Michael quietly approached the group of immortals as he saw them forming a circle around the black crystal. One by one, they joined the circle and their eyes glazed over, indicating they were under some form of mind control. The dark wisp of smoke from the crystal seemed to be manipulating their minds, rendering them obedient to its will. Taking advantage of their trance-like state, Michael stealthily moved closer to the immortals, his dark swords unsheathed and ready to strike. Each step was calculated and silent as he closed the distance, his heart racing with the anticipation of the impending confrontation. "I am writing this chapter with a fever, so sorry for any mistakes." Chapter 1053. Finishing the Queen's quest. As Michael stealthily approached the immortals, he decided to take a different route, dropping down from an elevated place rather than using the stairs. He closed his eyes, expanding his senses throughout the cave, and confirmed that there was no other way out for the immortals but through him. With them trapped, his sole task was to eliminate them all. Walking towards the immortals, he felt the heavy energy radiating from the dark crystal. Surprisingly, the crystal tried to ensnare him in a trance, but being the god of darkness, Michael was able to resist its influence and break the connection. "I wonder what they were thinking," Iag mused from atop Michael's shoulder. The immortals were all looking up, their eyes rolled back behind their eye sockets. "Kill them all and sever the connection with my crystal," the queen's voice echoed in Michael's head again. "Stop doing that," Michael whispered through gritted teeth, frustrated with the intrusion. "What did we do?" asked Iag, confused by Michael's reaction. "I can hear the queen's voice inside my head," Michael whispered, circling around the entranced immortals. "Why aren't we hearing her?" Sarba inquired. "Why would you want that, you moron?" Iag scolded her brother, lowering her voice. Meanwhile, Michael moved his hands in front of the immortals to see if they reacted to his presence. As expected, they remained completely entranced by the crystal in the middle. "Kill them," the queen's voice echoed once more, and Michael couldn't help but let out a slightly annoyed response. Okay. With his two dark swords in hand, Michael moved with lightning speed, a blur of motion as he swiftly decapitated each of the immortals. Their heads rolled off their bodies, blood spattering on the ground, creating a gruesome scene. Despite the brutal attack, their bodies remained firmly rooted to the ground, unaffected by their severed heads. Ignoring this oddity, Michael continued his path towards the dark crystal. As he approached the crystal, he noticed a dark smoke shrouding it. Upon slaying the immortals, Michael witnessed wisps of white smoke being absorbed from their lifeless bodies into the crystal. The system's notifications continued to ring inside his head, rewarding him for his lethal actions with experience points and badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing an immortal. The reward is 2 million experience points and 5,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 8,000 badass points. The crystal seemed to pulsate with energy, and Michael could feel a surge of power emanating from it. He knew that this crystal contained a piece of the queen's soul, and it was crucial to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. The queen's voice in his head had made it clear that she wanted him to retrieve the crystal, and Michael had no intention of disobeying her. Despite their decapitated state, the bodies of the immortals remained rooted to the ground. Michael paid no mind to this strange phenomenon and proceeded toward the dark crystal. The crystal was enveloped in a cloud of dark smoke, and as Michael took the lives of the immortals, he noticed wisps of white smoke being absorbed into the crystal. "The crystal is devouring their souls," Saba observed, noting the eerie white smoke floating into the dark artifact. "This crystal contains a piece of the queen's soul. What did you expect?" Michael chuckled as he reached out to grasp the crystal. A sudden electric sensation ran down his spine, and he found himself in a disorienting vision. In the vision, he stood alone before a massive army, with the surroundings plunged into darkness, and a volcanic mountain spewing lava streams on the horizon. It took a moment for Michael to shake off the vision and return to reality. "Bring it to the demon's grave." Yet again, Michael heard the queen's voice in his head. "The demon's grave, got it," Michael replied to the queen's voice in his head. As he turned to leave, Sarba raised a valid question. "What about these bodies? Shouldn't we destroy them?" "Nah, it will give the immortals something to worry about," Michael said with a devilish grin. With the world believing the Dark Lord to be dead, the Council of Immortals would be baffled and terrified, decided to let them speculate and stew in fear over the mysterious deaths, trying to figure out who had slain their brethren. Destroying the bodies with dark flames might raise suspicion, as the use of such powerful primordial flame could leave traces behind. Michael decided to let them speculate and stew in fear over the mysterious deaths. After acquiring the crystal, Michael swiftly utilized his runic teleportation to reach the safe house provided by Nithroel. In an instant, he found himself in a spacious hall, illuminated by a magnificent chandelier. At the center of the hall, Eladir was engrossed in engraving glowing runes on a teleportation portal. Thanks to Eladir's ingenuity, Michael had been able to transport the teleporter from his dark castle to Nithroel's safe house when the Skyhall army captured his stronghold. "How's the task coming along, Eladir?" Michael inquired, approaching the runemaster. "It's challenging, to be honest. These rune words require the expertise of another 6-star runemaster. Are you certain about teleporting yourself into the realm of gods?" "We have no idea how far that realm is," Eladir expressed his concern, his brows furrowing. Michael stood before the colossal teleporter, observing the dark vortex swirling in its center, surrounded by glowing runes adorning its frame. "And what about the barrier that separates our realm from the realm of gods? How do you know it will allow you to pass through?" Eladir added, genuinely worried about the well-being of the Dark Lord. To him, Michael was not just a lord but also a cherished student and son figure. "Because I placed the barrier," Michael calmly replied. He was aware that the previous Dark Lord had created the barrier with the intention of entering the realm of gods after defeating Noah. However, Michael had different plans. Instead of killing Noah and creating a hole in the barrier, he staged his own death and devised a plan to use the powerful system to breach the realm of gods. The cost demanded by the system to teleport him through the barrier was staggering. 50 million badass points. Such an expense would leave him with only 10 million badass points, but it was a risk Michael had to take. "Don't try to stop him, Eladir," Saba sighed from her perch on Michael's shoulder. "Activate the teleporter to the forge," Michael instructed. "You managed to obtain the Queen's crystal from the immortals?" Eladir inquired. Michael nodded, and as Eladir closed his eyes and sketched a few runes in the air, the vortex started swirling. Michael confidently stepped into the vortex, disappearing from the hall. Michael materialized at his forge but found no ongoing work there. Deciding to leave the forge for the time being, he activated his metal wings and soared to the peak of Mount Hades. From this vantage point, he could witness the vast expanse of the demon's grave, a desolate landscape where a colossal bull grazed in the distance, and a myriad of eerie and diverse monsters roamed freely. The red sky and black lightning contributed to the eerie ambience of the place. "Hey Queen, do you have a specific location in mind for this crystal?" Michael inquired, producing the dark crystal from his space ring with a casual gesture. A heavy silence greeted Michael as the Queen remained unresponsive. However, a faint glow appeared in the distance, illuminating a barren ground. "I suppose that's where you want me to place the crystal," Michael surmised, his voice unwavering as he addressed the unseen Queen. With a graceful flap of his wings, he took flight and headed toward the glowing area. "Where?" Sarba asked. "You can't see it," Michael replied simply, his wings propelling him through the sky with ease. Within a matter of minutes, Michael touched down on the ground, where the earth emanated a soft glow. To Vidroa, the ground appeared crimson and sandy, seemingly unremarkable in comparison to the rest of the demon's grave. "Here you go. One soul crystal delivered to you," Michael carefully placed the crystal on the ground, his anticipation evident in his posture. However, no immediate response came. "Can I leave?" Michael asked, looking around for any sign of acknowledgement from the queen. But before he received a reply, the ground beneath him trembled violently. The earth cracked open, and the crystal plunged into the depths of the fissure. In a blink, the crack sealed shut as if swallowing the crystal whole. "Guess my work is done," Michael muttered, intending to depart. Yet, a sudden chill ran down his spine, compelling him to turn back. Above the very spot where he had placed the crystal, a haunting silhouette of a woman emerged, formed from dark ethereal smoke. Vidora, the three-headed hydra perched on Michael's shoulder, trembled in fear, an uncommon occurrence for such a formidable creature. "My next piece of soul is in the realm of gods, the same place where you are going next. Retrieve it from the god who holds my soul crystal, and I will grant you a favor," the figure spoke, and Michael immediately recognized it as some manifestation of the queen. While fear didn't grip him, her offer did surprise him, especially her willingness to offer a favor. "Since I'm already heading to the realm of gods, it won't hurt to retrieve your crystal. But this time, there's no time limit," Michael declared. "Very well. Just remember not to keep me waiting for too long. Otherwise, my pet over there can turn your beloved forge to dust," the queen warned, pointing a smoky finger toward the colossal bull in the distance. Michael was taken aback, finally uncovering the truth behind the enigmatic creature. Ever since he set foot in the demon's grave, the colossal bull, towering enough to touch the clouds, had puzzled him. Now he understood that the bull was a pet of the queen. "Deal," Michael sighed, agreeing to the queen's terms. Chapter 1054 Introduction to the Realm of Gods. With the queen's task completed, Michael returned to Nithrol's manor, where Gaia eagerly awaited him. She knew Michael was about to embark on his journey to the realm of gods and wanted to bid her husband farewell. The hall was empty, with only a cozy sofa set in the middle and windows overlooking the serene canyon and the shimmering lake. "Everything went well?" Gaia asked Michael, her eyes filled with concern and love. Michael nodded and wrapped his arms around her, pulling her into a warm hug. They shared a passionate kiss, cherishing each other's presence before parting. "Nithrol will be here in a few moments," Gaia informed him. Michael settled on the sofa, and Gaia joined him, their eyes locked in a loving gaze. "I am only going there next week," Michael calmly revealed, surprising Gaia. "Why? What's the reason?" she asked in shock. "Because I promised you I would take you on a honeymoon when everything is over, and I intend to keep my promise," said Michael, holding Gaia close. He kissed her on the side of her head, showing his affection for her. "When did you become so romantic?" Gaia asked, her voice filled with joy. It had been months since they spent quality time together without any worries. She thought Michael had forgotten about their promise, but she understood the immense responsibilities he carried. As his wife, she wanted to support him rather than add to his burdens. "When I married the most beautiful snake in the entire world," Michael chuckled, planting another sweet kiss on her lips. "Where do we go?" Gaia asked, her excitement bubbling over. "Anywhere you want," Michael replied, his heart brimming with love for his wife. Gaia's eyes sparkled with excitement as she reached into her space ring and pulled out a parchment filled with her neatly written notes. "Oh, Michael, you won't believe the places I've been dreaming of. First, there's the Celestial Gardens, a realm of floating islands adorned with vibrant flowers that glow in the moonlight." Michael couldn't help but tease her lovingly. "Taking notes on honeymoon destinations, are we?" "You really are something else." Gaia playfully swatted his arm. "Of course. I want this to be a honeymoon well cherished forever. And there's more," she continued. "Next, we have the Starfall Meadows, where stars descend every night, dancing across the sky in a breathtaking spectacle. It's as if the heavens themselves are celebrating love." Michael raised an amused eyebrow. "Starfall Meadows, huh? You sure know how to find the most magical places." But Gaia's excitement was infectious, and she couldn't contain herself. "And then there's the Enchanted Forest, where the trees are said to sing melodies and the flowers change colors with every step you take. It's like walking in a living painting." Michael chuckled. "You really have put a lot of thought into this, haven't you? It sounds like you've planned our honeymoon better than any war strategy." Gaia giggled and leaned closer to him. "Well, my dear Dark Lord, I just want this to be perfect for us. After all, we deserve a moment of magic and joy amidst all the chaos." "You're right," Michael said, his tone softening. "I couldn't think of anyone better to share this with than you." As they bantered and laughed, Michael and Gaia planned their dream honeymoon, choosing one enchanting location after another. As Michael and Gaia continued planning their dream honeymoon, the door to the hall swung open, and Eve hurriedly entered, her face flushed with exertion from training. "Hey, the Empress is here," Eve announced, catching her breath. It was evident that she had been pushing herself to prepare for the battles ahead, determined to fight alongside Gaia when the Dark Lord departed for the realm of gods. Before Michael could reply, Nithroel gracefully entered the hall, unaccompanied by any bodyguards. Her decision to forego protection was a wise one, given the need to keep her association with the Dark Lord a secret from the world that believed him to be deceased. Nithroel gracefully entered the hall, her presence exuding the regal aura of an empress combined with the power of a goddess of hunt. Michael and Gaia warmly greeted her with smiles as she took her seat before them. "I'll take my leave." Eve nodded at Michael and departed from the hall. Wanted to ensure that everything was settled between them since she had ordered Michael's assassins to find and kill Gaia's biological. "Are you ready to depart?" Nithroel inquired, her gaze briefly turning to Gaia. However, Gaia remained silent, giving no indication of any resentment towards Nithroel. The Empress wanted to ensure that everything was settled between them since she had ordered Michael's assassins to find and kill Gaia's biological father, Ingram. But as Gaia stayed quiet, Nithroel decided not to delve further into the matter. "Eladir is still working on the teleporter. It should be ready by the end of next week," Michael replied. Nithroel leaned back, crossing her legs gracefully. "What are your plans in the meantime?" the Empress inquired. "Just some personal matters to attend to. Nothing major. But it'll be out of reach," Michael responded. "Me neither. Tomorrow, I plan to venture into the treacherous ocean. But before I depart, I thought to give you a brief introduction to the realm of gods." Nithroel surprised both Michael and Gaia with her announcement. The treacherous ocean was a perilous place, and they couldn't help but wonder what a goddess and empress like Nithroel intended to do there. "Are you planning to go alone? Don't you have your war gods for such matters?" Michael inquired. "The times are changing, Dark Lord. Now that the world believes you are dead, every kingdom seeks a new villain to target. I understand mortals well. They need someone to hate, fight, and fear to survive, just like they need food, air, and water," Nithroel calmly explained. "And what's your point?" Michael asked, his brows furrowing. "The dwarves in the Beast Kingdom are amassing a large number of soldiers, preparing for war. I've been hearing about the plans of almost every king and queen to expand their kingdoms. The Beast King is even plotting to send his forces to the southern continent and invade them," Nithroel revealed. Gaia chuckled devilishly at the revelation. "Let's see how he invades the southern continent," she snickered. Gaia and Michael had dispatched Lenora and Trista, two of the most powerful elder vampires, to regain control of the southern continent. "Don't underestimate the Beast King, Dark Queen. He may not be a god like me and your husband, but he is just as capable as any god," Nithroel warned Gaia. Curious, Michael inquired. "So, what's the connection between expanding and your venture into the treacherous ocean?" "Power, what else? Whoever controls the untapped potential in the treacherous ocean controls the outcome of any war. And I want that power for the Gondolin Empire," Nithroel declared with cold determination. Gaia couldn't hold back her anger and frustration any longer and decided to confront Nithroel about her ambitions. "Since I am not refusing your request to have my father killed by my husband's assassins, let me ask you, Empress, why are you so keen on ruling the Aur continent and expanding Gondolin? You are a goddess. Why not plan on returning to your own world?" Gaia questioned. Nithroel understood Gaia's inner turmoil and realized that Michael had informed her about the request to find and kill Ingram. However, Nithroel didn't harbor any ill intentions toward Gaia. If anything, she empathized with her. "When your husband returns from the realm of gods, he will tell you why. The short answer I can give you at this point is that the realm of gods is far worse than this world. Which brings me to why I am here." Nithroel paused for a moment and leaned forward. "If everything goes according to your plan, you will land in the forest of Elrian, the domain of the goddess Marley. Seek her help, but be careful not to get too close to her," Nithroel warned. "Why?" asked Michael, intrigued. "Because she is a lustful predator," Nithroel revealed. Gaia was taken aback by the unexpected revelation as Nithroel continued. "Once you find the divine portals, I'd recommend starting your journey in the realm of gods from Kingdom Nimbosia, ruled by the god of rain, Raynar. It will be a good starting point for you to learn the dynamics of the realm and witness firsthand how cruel a god can be. As Nithroel spoke, she gracefully flicked her wrist, summoning a silver chain with a golden arrow attached to it. With a confident gesture, she tossed the chain to Michael. "This is my medallion. It will conceal your godly aura and keep you hidden from the Pantheon. Remember to wear it at all times while in the realm of gods, unless you want the entire Pantheon's army at your doorstep. Dark Lord, you are venturing deep into the den of countless hungry lions," Nithroel warned Michael. Her concern for his success was evident, as she knew that if he failed, the Pantheon would break the barrier between the mortal realm and the realm of gods. This would lead to a chaotic invasion, with each god seeking to claim a piece of the mortal realm for worshippers and power. Such a catastrophe would shatter her dream of ruling the entire mortal realm, leaving behind the mysterious reason for her ambitious desire. "Is there any chance Raynar would want to make a deal or ally with me?" Michael inquired, his curiosity piqued. Nithroel couldn't help but chuckle at the question. "Oh, my Dark Lord, you have much to learn about the gods. High gods like Raynar, who hold titles such as God of Rain, are devoted solely to the Pantheon. They wield immense power and influence over the mortal realm, even with the barrier in place. For instance, if Raynar were to be killed, the mortal realm would not receive any rainfall until another god of rain was born in the realm of gods," Nithroel explained. Michael found himself increasingly intrigued by the realm of gods and the intricate dynamics at play. However, getting more information was a challenge, especially since meeting Nithroel in person was nearly impossible due to their need to maintain the facade of his death. Perhaps gods without titles or kingdoms to rule might consider allying with you. But to make that happen, you must become truly formidable. Otherwise, no sane god would dare go against the Pantheon. I suggest two potential approaches. Either find a way to join the Pantheon and work with them until you can seize an opportunity to double-cross them, or quietly grow your worshippers within the realm of gods, Nithroel advised. "How do I do that?" Michael inquired. "Select a messenger and send them to spread word about your power. As desperate people begin to pray to you, use your abilities to fulfill their wishes. They will see it as miracles, and your worshippers will grow. However, this approach is dangerous, as no god likes their worshippers being poached. As I said, once you enter the realm of gods, you'll find that things are similar to the mortal realm, only much worse and more cruel," Nithroel cautioned. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.